Well, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to round 4 of the Formula Sim Racing World Championships, coming to you live from the Circuit de Gilles Villeneuve on the Ile de Notre Dame in the city of Montreal in the province of Quebec in Canada. We're looking forward to a 70-lap race this afternoon. We've got 21 drivers on the grid, and we've had an incredible 3 rounds that have brought us to this point. Now, I know we've got many seasoned expert fans who view the race on the live stream and they know all about FSR, but we'll just mention a couple of things for people who might be new, and maybe they'll watch this later on YouTube. This is the 16-year-old Sim Racing League, and World Championship Division is the top of 4 divisions. We start with AMA, which runs a GP2 style car. We then run Pro, which does a 75% race distance with real world temperatures but no rain. Ace does 100% distance and full weather, so temperature and rain. And World Championship does real world weather, including rain, but no assists, and the drivers and teams are allowed to have an engineer on the server to assist them. So what you will be seeing today are the very best sim racing drivers in the world. So if ever you've driven on a console, an Xbox or a PlayStation, and if you've been fast where you race and want to get involved, you come along, you get involved in initially with AMA. And that leads me to introduce Chris Rabey, my co-commentator today. Chris has just graduated. He ran away with the first 3 rounds in AMA, and today stepped up to Pro and took a front row slot in qualifying and finished second in his Pro debut. So firstly, congratulations, and secondly, welcome to the comms booth, Chris.
Thank you, David. Yeah, it was quite a good race. Nothing ever goes perfect, though. That's the beauty of FSR. But yeah, I'm quite happy with it. You know, we're hoping for a good WC race today for ACR and Origin front row. So let's hope that we have a clean race and see some good overtaking.
Indeed. Well, what we might do is we might get our producer Georg to put up the championship standings on the screen. We're into quali 1, but it's a 20-minute session, so we're going to fully focus on the action for the final 10 minutes. But we will take an opportunity in the remaining few minutes before that to just have a bit of a chat about the standings and how we've got to the situation we're in, and then we might chat a little bit about the track here in Canada and the unique set of challenges that it offers. So currently Jim Parizis is leading the World Championship with 45 points, and that's come his way with a fantastic win in Melbourne. And those of you who saw Melbourne will recall that Jerome Quakel had some technical issues which cost him a finish. But Jim Parizis just drove away with a stunning win in Melbourne. He was 4th in Bahrain and 6th in Catalonia. So not an amazing race in Catalonia, but that was a very tough race with some unique properties. Francesco Bigazzi lies in 2nd place with 43 points, Italian driver. And he's come to that position with a 2nd in Melbourne, a 5th in Bahrain, and a 3rd in Spain. Now, Francesco Bigazzi has been known to be incredibly quick here in Canada, so we might see some excitement from him, particularly in qualifying. The big mover up into 3rd place is Jerome Quakel. Jerome had a DNF in Melbourne, 1 in Bahrain, and came 4th in Canada. And Kuba Brzezinski has moved up from 6th place to 4th on 36 points, and just interesting to see we've got Quakel, Simoncic and Kuba 37, 35, 36, so a single point separating each of those drivers. Kuba Brzezinski managed to come 2nd in Melbourne after a massive race-long fight. He got no points in Bahrain, having suffered some damage very early in the race, drove the whole race with a damaged car, and managed to come 2nd in Spain after a tremendous strategic battle with his own teammate Jerome Quakel, and surpassing Bigazzi in the dying laps when Bigazzi's tyres started to go away. So that was a tremendous opportunistic grab for 2nd place in Catalonia. And then Daniel Kiss, who's sitting down in 6th, but Daniel actually won last time out in Spain with a very, very strong drive. He cleared his teammate in the first sector and basically drove away with it, although Kuba was getting closer and closer. And I think there was only a couple of seconds, 1.5 seconds between them when the checkered flag went down. So Daniel Kiss had a DNF in Melbourne. He actually took pole in Bahrain, but his set seemed to be optimised more for qualifying than racing because he just couldn't find the race pace. He admitted it coming in. He wasn't happy with his race pace and drifted backwards into still a respectable 6th place. But he won very imperiously last time out in Catalonia. So that's our top 6, and I think we'll be looking to those guys for our podium getters today. Although this track can really throw up some curveballs. We had a very eventful ace race yesterday, and it was a bit of a war of attrition. And we had, I think, eventful would be an understatement for the pro event today. We had a bit of carnage in pro. And I've got to say, this track, it's a little bit like Monaco in that you're racing other drivers, but you're also racing, to keep your car in one piece, because this is a bit like Monza with barriers. It's just so easy to clip the barriers. And there's a lot of places on this track where you just cannot attempt to pass. And how did you find the action into the final chicane today, Chris?
Well, yeah, the last chicane, there's quite a lot of incidents that have been seen, especially in Ace. I don't know what Pro was like because I haven't seen the broadcast yet, but I did have an incident with our producer George going into the last chicane. I think it was like lap 4 or 5. It's quite an annoying one because you want to brake early, not to lock the tyres up. You want to, go slow in and fast out because these cars do require very good exits. So. Yeah, and if you brake a little bit too late, you can easily spin. And I think I've done that in my Q2 lap as well, so it's a bit annoying, but hopefully we don't see that in WC because these guys are very experienced.
And you mentioned tyres there. Just to mention, there are 6 tyre compounds available within this simulation. We use rFactor 2, which is the most authentic, accurate and dynamic simulation that you can possibly run on a domestically available PC. To get a higher level of simulation, you've got to head to Brackley or Enstone or something like that and drive a Formula One team's simulator. So this is as authentic as it gets for people who want to get to the top end of this sport. We've got 6 compounds. The dry compounds that have been selected today are super soft and soft, and of course wet weather if available, if necessary. But it's warming up. It's 9 degrees currently in downtown Montreal, and we use real-time, real-world weather. So we're hooked in with a weather station near the track, just across the waterway from the track. And as the temperature changes, and it just dropped slightly actually, it's dropped down to 7 degrees now. Rain isn't forecast, but we've got a 7-degree temperature. And the teams have got to bear all that in mind as they set the car up. Of course, I think Alan Jones, the 1981 Formula One World Champion, used to say that Formula One's like stretching a piece of elastic, and the teams will stretch their cooling as far as they can. They just want the car to survive. Same with brake cooling. And with a 6-degree ambient temperature, which is what we've got at the moment, the teams won't be running very big radiators. Quali 1, there's no parc ferme, so if the drivers want to, they can apply some trick settings by using very small radiators. And in fact, I can see a bit of smoke coming from a couple of cars. But Quali 2, parc ferme applies, so the teams have got to qualify the car with a race set. So we might actually see Quali 2 times that aren't quite as quick as Quali 1 times.
Yeah, exactly. New rule for this weekend is the fact that there's no parc ferme in Q1. This Q1 is now a practice 2 session, with only the top 10 being allowed to advance to Q2 and go out on track.
And Chris, how did you find the move? There was a bit of conversation yesterday rather, about how the AMA car, the GP2 style car, compares to the F1 inspired car that is run in World Championship, Ace and Pro. How do you find the difference between the cars?
The AMA car is definitely a lot more consistent. It feels like you can you can push the car a bit more than what you can with the FSR car. The brakes are probably the biggest difference. Is the fact that you can probably slam the brakes a bit better than what you can with the FSR car, because, well, I presume with the FSR car you got a bit of that recovery sort of phase built into the physics, so it is a bit annoying when you slam your brakes on the FSR car and just expect it to spin.
So just a bit more sensitive.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Very, very sensitive these cars are. You need a very good setup, mostly for good corner. You want good corner speed, but, you know, not so much that you ruin the tyres, and you want a very good, very, very, very good traction out of the corners. And this is quite an important track for traction as well, because you've got the slow chicanes, you've got the hairpin. It's just it's just one of those tracks, and that's probably why we're seeing so many accidents.
Now, I wonder, it's probably a good time now for us to have a look at how the leaderboard's looking. Do you want to have a bit of a look at the board and walk us through the top few drivers, Chris? Would that suit you?
Yeah, it's fine. Yeah. So at the minute we got your own Krakel, who is doing a 114.85. He's got his teammate Kuba Brzezinski behind with a 114.915. Very close behind is Mikhail Antohovsky. He's on a 14.965, so just a little bit off those two top guys there. The top at the minute we've got Francesco Bagazzi with a 115.0, and then very close behind him is his teammate Daniel Kiss. And then we've got the full-time ACR driver now from Mike Partington with a 115.064, so he's very close to the time of Kiss and Bagazzi, so hopefully he'll be hoping to improve and maybe move himself up for Q2 possibly.
Might just mention a couple of those guys. Sorry if I just cut in there for a moment, then let you continue in just a second. Mikhail Antohovsky, who's currently lying in third, he's been promoted from pro. And, you know, that's the way the whole system works. I mean, Chris, yourself was promoted from AMA because clearly you had the pace. You were walking away with the AMA title, and fair play to you, you decided to take on the challenge of pro. Mikhail Antohovsky was basically doing extremely well in the pro series and was called up to a full-time World Championship drive. And Mike Partington was showing some tremendous pace in Ace Division. He's been promoted full-time to World Championship. So we've had a couple of guys move up the grid, and a couple of the guest drivers today. Michi Hoyer, who's an ace driver, who had a stunning win yesterday, really dominant win yesterday, a German driver from Abercrombie Racing, and in fact he's the team principal there. And we have a new team on the grid, Born to Win, which comprises John-Eric Saxon and Mikhail Antohovsky. And that's the rejuvenation of an old team that John-Eric used to run some years ago. So sorry, I just wanted to interject welcoming the new people. So sorry, Chris, carry on.
No, it's fine. No, it's fine. Yeah, as you were saying about people being promoted, it definitely does show with WC as well. Because if you look at the minute, the top 18 is so that I can see so far separated by only 7 tenths. So it's very, very close at the minute. Anyone could, you know, spice up the qualifying, hopefully.
Well, indeed, amazing gaps, and Canada seemed to do that especially well. Last year in Canada here, I think we had 6 guys within 2 tenths, and 1 guy just out on his own, and that was Francesco Bagazzi. But of course, the job here in Quali 1 is not to put it on pole. The job is to get into the top 10, and that's currently held by Camille Liswa, and I hope that's the right way to say it, Camille.
You probably said it better than I can.
So at the moment, the cutoff for top 10 is a 115.144. Journey Simijic is close to that. And Journey, it must be said, this season is racing better than he's qualifying. You know, qualifying seems to have just been gone off the boil ever so slightly, but his race pace has been superb. He's just consistently moving forwards in the race, which is, I suppose, it's a nicer feeling to move forwards than move backwards in the race.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you get no points for qualifying, so it's a bit different for this track. You definitely do want a decent qualifying, so you don't get caught up in any mayhem that could happen. Because I saw that you started from the pit lane for pro.
Well, yes, which worked very well for me in in Bahrain, I think it was, yeah, it just didn't work out. So somebody else decided to start in pit lane as well, and I was picking my way through the carnage in sector 1, and the other guy who started in pit lane behind me, he ran into the back of me. So I guess it can get crowded in pit lane as well, and then it's not such a clever strategy when that happens.
Oh yeah, one person we missed out is Alvaro Torres. He's I think he's just doing a one-off today. He's normally an ace.
Oh yeah, good call. In fact, he's been doing quite well in ace, Alvaro.
Yeah, exactly. I think he was a little bit unlucky in Bahrain with contact with I think it was the camera car. He said that he couldn't see the camera car.
Oh yes, I remember.
Yeah,
Yep.
Quite a bit of, well, I don't know what you could call it, but there's a little bit of carnage there. I think he had quite a bit of damage as well.
So we might perhaps jump on board with somebody, if George, our producer, would like to. Maybe if we dive on board, I'm riding on board with Kuba Brzezinski at the moment, who's on a lap. In fact, I think he might just be on an out lap now and be preparing to start a hot lap.
Preparing for one.
Okay, so we can ride on board with him as he goes around the hairpin, the casino hairpin, and then down the casino straight. On the left there is actually the rowing venue from the 1976 Montreal Olympics. Bit of trivia for you. And from that hairpin all the way down to turn 1, basically the guys are running parallel with the Olympic rowing venue. There's just that one chicane as Kuba starts his lap now and enters turn 1. We've got one driver exiting the pits. He'll keep an eye out for Kuba and should leave him room. Either that or pull over. I think that might be Martin Hodas, if I can see that correctly. Kuba gets a nice exit into the Virage du Senna, which is the only other corner with a name on this track. The Senna corner or Senna curve. And this section here, the corner that Kuba's in now, turn 5, is the only really high-speed corner. Turn 6 and 7, really tricky. It's like a broad chicane where you double back on yourself and you've got the car quite twisted but trying to get the power down, and that's a very easy place to make a bit of an own goal error on track if you just haven't got it straight enough, or if you're just being too ambitious with throttle. But Kuba has a beautiful run through the turn 6-7 chicane, and as he approaches the casino hairpin, braking as late as you dare, possibly moving brake bias forwards a little bit because there's a massive weight shift forwards here, particularly on the super softs. Not so noticeable on the soft tyre. So Kuba will be applying boost and opening DRS to get absolute maximum speed as he heads down, and he's got 346, 347 kph and a bit of a scrappy exit, almost kissing the wall of champions there, and that's the only blemish on that lap.
Yeah, a little bit of a scruffy lap there from Kuba, but he's comfortably through in to Q2 hopefully. But looking at that though, only a quarter of a second separating Kuba from Jeroen Kwekel and to Michel D'Alessandro as well.
Yeah, it is quite amazing, and 15 hundredths between Bugatti in 6th, 15 hundredths between George Manitsakis in 6th and Jeroen Kwekel on the front row of the grid. So I suppose the action for the moment is just around about P12 and P11 to see if Simoncic or Kostadinov can manage to gain a 10th and get into that all-important Q2. I'm on board with Dejan Kostadinov at the moment. Might be worth a little look at his car as he approaches the casino hairpin. Giving it full berries as he exits the hairpin. Probably the hardest part of the track on the rear tyres there. I know seems to have...
I think he's just trying to get himself a bit of room for
his
final lap.
Yeah. Good call, Chris.
He's only got to find not very much time. It's just a little bit faster through the corners, and you can probably get P10.
So he begins his final shot with 28 seconds left on the clock. I'll just try and have a look and see if he's improving any of his sectors here.
Oh, he spins it into the wall.
Oh!
That's Dejan, definitely out of qualifying now.
Yeah, indeed. Needing some repairs. So, which leaves us with journey. Oh no, that's it. Everyone must be finished. Oh no, we've still got drivers on track. Simoncic is not on track, and Kostadinov isn't. Mohammed Patel could be in there could be being ambitious. And he's just taken a personal best in Sector 1. 22.510, which is about, well, it's only a couple of hundredths off Quakel's Sector 1. But 25 hundredths off the best Sector 1.
Yeah, definitely looks like Mohammed Patel's on a pretty decent lap. I should definitely easily make him into the top 10 if he finishes his lap.
Yep, he's gone a personal best in Sector 2 as well. So he's just got to nail that final chicane. Brakes as late as he dares. Good turn in. Gets the power down beautifully next to the Wall of Champions there. And we should see Mohammed move up. And, indeed we do. 6th place. Superb lap. Mohammed, right when it counts.
Yeah, exactly. And only 1/10 separating the top 7.
Incredible.
And 3rd, 4th and 5th being separated by 0.02 of a second as well.
Incredibly close. So Mike Partington is the cut-off point into Quali 2. So the drivers will now be applying their race setups to the car. They were able to use a special qualifying setup because, as Chris mentioned, Quali 1 is not subject to Parc Ferme. So Mike in 10th, George Manisakis in 9th, Francesco Bigazzi in 8th, Jim Parise 7th, Patel 6th, Camille Liesois in 5th, Daniel Kiss 4th, Brzezinski 3rd, Mikhail Antochowski 2nd, and Jerome Quakel 1st. But you know what? It's going to be a bit of a different ball game, Chris, in my view, because we now move to a race setup. And I'll just make a little note. A 1:14.9 was P1. We'll see how the guys go because they've got to use brakes, radiators, or aero, everything the same as their race setup. So we won't see any smoking cars this time round.
Yeah, hopefully not. If they've done that, then obviously they've made a bit of a boo-boo.
Now, we hope you're enjoying the new overlay on the screen today. Ernesto Giangelis has done a lot of work in cooperation with our media team to come up with a fresh and very informative overlay. So bottom left, you'll see the driver's livery of his car and his helmet. So when we're on board with the driver, you'll see a replica of his helmet and car on the bottom left. We've got the weather in the top middle of the screen. And we've got a little overtake feature which is working perfectly now. On the right-hand side, you'll see when somebody's made a pass. So all adds to the pleasure.
Yeah, thank you to everyone who's tuning in. I think, considering it's quite a long race, I think if anyone wants to comment in the chat on the YouTube, they can do, and we'll have a look and see what questions people have, and we'll be more than happy to answer them for everyone. If you put like hashtag ask FSR or something in the chat box, then we'll answer any questions you have.
Yeah, indeed. So Quali is beginning now, Quali 2. Looks like Daniel Kiss is the first guy to leave his garage. As Quali progresses, of course, we're getting more and more rubber build up on the track. In rFactor 2, it's called Real Road. And rather than some can sort of feature where the track just magically gets grippier, it's only where the cars pass over that the grip levels increase and they actually leave down traces of rubber. And when you're offline, the rubber's not there, the grip's not there. So it's important for these guys to get out there and get some rubber down in the qualifying sessions and in the warm-up.
It looks like there seems to be a technical issue with the qualifying. It looks like we're going to restart Q2 by looks of it.
Now we're on a man-made island here, interestingly enough. The island itself, the Ile de Notre Dame, was built initially for the Expo 67 in Montreal and then utilised as the rowing venue for the 76 Olympics, as I mentioned. But the racetrack itself started its life in 1978, originally called the Circuit de Ile de Notre Dame, but was quickly named the Circuit de Gilles Villeneuve after the late great champion. Must have been pretty amazing for his son to drive on the track named after his father. I've always thought that was would have been pretty cool.
Yeah, whilst we wait for the server to be restarted, we've got a few questions coming now. We got one saying, "Who's your favourite ever driver at FSR?" That's a pretty good question.
Well, that's a hard one, isn't it? I mean, we're kind of new, so I'm not going to sit here and pretend to be the Murray Walker of FSR. I've been watching FSR for probably 4 years, I guess, which makes me a new boy. And I always had a soft spot. I mean, during the incredibly dominant years of Bono House, and you've just got to take your hat off to him as the most successful FSR driver ever. I always had a soft spot for Morgan Moran, who was the first guy to really take it to Bono when I was watching FSR in the early years. So I think, you know, those two names for me represent two of the greatest drivers. And Morgan actually did a couple of races last season with these guys that you're watching today, with the best result of P4. So I think we can say that it's just as competitive as it was, because if guys of that level arrive and don't walk away with it, the racing's pretty good.
Yeah, exactly. The person that probably got me into FSR was probably Bono House as well.
Yeah, I don't think anybody would know FSR and not know that guy's name, Bono. He's
Exactly.
He was, I suppose, the big name for a long time, and to win it 5 years in a row. But of course, his final victory championship was in 2014, and it really only came at the death. It was Morgan Moran's title to lose, and the final round. If you haven't seen it, it's just worth seeing. The final race from 2014 in Circuit of the Americas. And
that was a good race.
Oh, amazing! Moran only had to finish 3 places behind House, I think, to take out the championship, and you would not bet money on that not happening. But it was a double tap on the pit limiter in the end that cost him. He got a drive through and ended up 6th or something. Yeah. And House took the title.
Yeah, surprisingly enough, I think it was he won the championship without actually having to lead the championship as well. So,
well, yes, that's
Moran's
right.
got a bit robbed, really. But you know, at the end of the day, it's all down to, you know, those 12, 14 races.
Well, indeed, and they both had issues during the season in terms of non-finishes, and I think there was a pretty eventful race in Suzuka where Moran, I think, was a bit ambitious and perhaps could have played his cards in a little bit more Alain Prost-like manner and just do enough. But yeah, history will show that Bono House won the 5th one in a row, and then decided to take a bit of a sabbatical. Who knows if we'll see him back? He's only a young guy, and it would certainly be fantastic to have him back on the grid.
Yeah, exactly. It'd be fantastic to have Bono back, but I think he's probably, I wouldn't count him out on a return, but I think he's probably buying his time a little bit.
Yeah, indeed. Well, you know, you get to an age where life gets in the way of sim racing, and then you get to an age where life gets out of the way, and you can do a bit more again.
So as we wait for everyone to rejoin the server now, it looks like they're having a little bit of a warm-up ahead of, I don't know if they're restarting the whole of qualifying or if it's just Q2, but we'll wait and see.
It would make sense just to do Q2, or go straight to Q2, I would have thought, because they know who's in, and the other guys have just got to sit in the pits, really. Yeah, it will be Q2.
So we've just had a little commenting from Alvaro Torres saying, "Ask FSR, are ACR guys cheating?" He's obviously not very happy with the performance of
Yeah,
ACR
well,
today.
it's I guess we could be accused of being a bit biased because I'm an ACR driver. I joined them last season at the beginning of the season, and you're an ACR driver now, having been promoted and given a seat in Pro. But it's a very professional team. You know, it's attracted some good drivers, and I think a good example was and the sister team, because OFR, I suppose, is the team that's doing very well in World Championship with Kuba and Girone. But in terms of Pro and Ace, Avid Chronic Racing's had some fantastic results. And it sort of fits the profile of the team, really, because I know Chris Cobb, our president of Formula Sim Racing and the team owner of Avid Chronic Racing, he's got very much a development mentality. He likes to bring guys in, help them improve, and hopefully, you know, give them a chance to show their stuff, rather than just once a year posting a note somewhere to try to find a finished article, you know, elsewhere. So, and that's worked well for him. I mean, David Cook, my teammate, last season was his debut season in rFactor 2, and we joined Avid Chronic together because we knew each other from Xbox, an Xbox series. We drove together in F1 2011 on Xbox. And David's really flowered, put a lot of work into it, and he's now really the man to beat in Pro, which is a fantastic story. His second season in SimRacing. And, you know, it's worth saying to people out there, if you're interested in getting involved, you know, you're talking probably €500 for a gaming PC that'll run the sim, a couple of €100 for an entry-level wheel. Although we would highly recommend the fabulous Thrustmaster product, because we are the Thrustmaster Formula Sim Racing World Championships, and Thrustmaster is a highly valued long-term sponsor, and their T300 is the weapon of choice for more and more of the top drivers.
I have a T300.
Oh, there you go. So Chris has moved from AMA to Pro and put it on the front row in quali, and come second in his debut race with the T300. Say no more. Or as they would say in America, enough said.
Yeah, T300 is a very good wheel. I think most people either use T300, you got Fanatic, is it a CSR wheel? And you've also got the G27, G29, G25 from Logitech. So many wheels out there. They're not that much money. There's, you know, a few pennies, but I think more money needs to be spent on the PC as well. So
yeah, exactly. But bottom line is, for something like about €800 of investment, you're on the grid racing in FSR. The license fees, there are license fees, but they're not significant amounts of money. It's not hellishly expensive, and once you prove yourself, your team will normally pay your license fee anyway. So if you feel like getting involved, if you're performing well in any other form of sim racing, whether it be on console or on other titles, on other less technical titles, come along and get involved. Costs you a couple of euros to dip your toe in the water in the AMA series, and you know, if you've got the talent, if you've got the pace, you'll very quickly be moved up the ladder to where you belong.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the AMA Championship's only about €2 for a year driving license, so I think, you know, worth a go.
Exactly, price of a cup of coffee. So that's no reason
exactly.
to not race.
Yeah, we seem to have quite a bit of activity in the chat about Ask FSR, so let's have a look through them. We got another question in here saying, I started watching FSR in 2014 and enjoyed seeing Bono win. What's the difference car-wise between this year to last year?
Okay, well, we moved from essentially, if you've driven rFactor 2, the FSR car last year was a very slightly tweaked version of the ISI Formula car. I think it's just called a Formula ISI.
Yeah, it's based on the 2012 car.
Exactly. So V8, 2.4 litre V8, high revving, 17,000 revs, and a beautiful car. But Chris Cobb, felt that we needed to be in something contemporary. So, with the help of people like David Greco and Marco Conti, the guys built from scratch this new car, and this is based on the current hybrid cars that you see in real world F1 now. So, essentially, what we've got now is what you see on the grid in real F1 hybrid power, lots of torque. Now, I'm going to cut myself off because Mike Partington is about to open his bid now with his first timed lap. So I think it's time we move to the action. Mike Partington, formerly full-time ace driver, now promoted to World Championship, and Mike has been super quick on the practice server with his team ACR. As he enters the technical sector 1. Flat out through turn 5 and gets the car rotated for 6-7, leaving nothing on the table. Mark, he's really sliding the rear end there, which he believes you've got to do in this car to go quick. And safely out of 7 and still looking pretty clean. And gone purple in sector 1, but you would expect that because it's the very first lap. So there's no comparator.
Yeah, exactly. Mike Partington, a very, very good driver. Oh, as he spins on the hairpin, I think our commentator cursed him a little bit.
He's definitely letting the tail hang out there now. So we might pick up Kuba Brzezinski if possible, who's next on the list. And Kuba is now on the Casino Straight, top speed, approaching final chicane in the Wall of Champions. All the drivers other than D'Alessandro is on primes, interestingly enough.
So, with Kuba's lap, it doesn't seem like he's losing much time with the...
Well, indeed. He's lost 0.3. Yep, 0.3 going for a race set.
With a 15.025 to take provisional pole position with 2 minutes left on the session.
So we'll only see another, probably one more run from anybody who hasn't put one on the board yet. Patel exiting the pits now. In fact, there's a whole gaggle of cars exiting the pits. Kiss, Patel, Anchowski, Manitsakis. It's a traffic jam as they exit pit lane.
Yeah, interestingly enough, we're not seeing the gaps like we were seeing in Q1. The top 7 only separated by 8 tenths now, instead of just a tenth. So
yeah, interesting.
We'll see what happens.
And if any viewers are wondering, what's the compromise if you're going for a race setup versus a quali setup? Well, essentially, a big one is tyre wear. You can set the car up with a bit less wing, knowing it's going to absolutely crucify your tyres quite, in a very short number of laps. But it just doesn't matter in a quali situation. You're not going to reuse those tyres. Bit less engine cooling. You can make some other compromises that are going to make the car perhaps a bit twitchy, a bit harder to manage, that you wouldn't want for a 70-lap race, but you can manage for a quali session. But now that we're in Q2, the guys are all using their race setup. So we'll wait to see who gets out there on a good lap and we'll look for a purple sector 1. Brzezinski's just set a time for sector 1, but it's not a purple or even a green, so it doesn't look like he's doing anything magical.
Yeah, exactly. It looks like he could do with probably... Well, I was down on pro by 2 tenths on David Cook and managed to crawl it all back in the last 2 sectors. So Cuba, as I say, that Cuba goes purple in the second sector at 22.5.
And his sector 1 time is only a tenth off. It's 2 tenths off the benchmark. Camille Lisois has managed to do a purple sector 1 and a PB in sector 2. Just as I mentioned, that Quakel's gone purple in sector 1. So looks like this lap from Cuba could be a good one. Or when he's taken ever so slightly the tiniest of margins off that lap time from a 15.191 to a 15.060. So he's taken 1300ths off his own best. Looks like Quakel is going to go a tiny bit quicker again and just cement that pole position. Kiss has just injected himself into 5th place, so 3rd row.
It looks like Quakel's lifting off. He's 2 tenths down on Cuba. Oh, and saying that he goes fastest. Didn't see that one coming.
No, well, that's an amazing. That's a faster lap time than the quickest lap time in Q1 by a tenth, 14.880. The quickest lap time in Quali 1 was a 14.915. So it's the usual suspects up the front there, Quakel, Brzezinski, but we've got some fantastic drivers still there in the rest of the session. There's just a couple of queries here by the drivers are asking a couple of questions in the chat about some details on the qualifying. Mikhail Lanchowski and Mike Partington have set identical times, but Partington has been given 4th place and Mikhail Lanchowski has been given 3rd place. Must have just been by the smallest margin. The timing is giving Anchowski a gap to Quakel of 0.183 and Partington 0.184. Yeah, and wow. I'm checking that on the live timing, and it's 1,000th of a second.
Yeah, some drivers aren't very happy with Q2 only being 5 minutes, not 10. Chris Dion just put in the chat saying just get on with it. In a very Chris Dion style.
Yeah.
Yep, and clarification there. We are moving to warm up, so these are the results.
Yes, well, I mean, it's always unsettling when qualifying doesn't pan out as to exactly what you're expecting, but I think with the restarting of the server and the rerunning of qualifying, for time constraints, the race director may have decided to make it a bit shorter. So there's a bit of
yeah, exactly.
A few queries going on. So the drivers are heading out into their 10-minute warm-up session. And of course what they're doing now is getting used to a full fuel load, because they're qualifying, their approach to a qualifying lap is to really take everything they can out of the car and the tyres over a single lap. And whereas with 140 litres of fuel on board, there's a bit of conversation now about restarting qualifying.
I can agree with the drivers on that, but it's 5 minutes. It does say, qualifying in the bottom right hand corner, and it is the same for everyone. 5 minutes for everyone. So, our pro and ace guys have it. So why shouldn't World Championship?
Well, we'll see what they decide to do. And
yep, looks like the server's being restarted now.
Yeah.
Apologies to all the viewers watching. We have at the moment 127 people watching now. So thank you for bearing with us through this. it is a game. There's going to be technical issues. Still better
And
than
yeah, like you said, Chris, I can see the point of the drivers. I mean, you might say, well, what's the difference? 5-minute quali, 10-minute quali. What's going to change? But this is Formula Sim racing. It's the highest level of sim racing in the world, and the guys have got a right to expect it to be, as per the program. So
so everything's done.
so we've recommenced quali 2. And we'll know in a moment whether it's going to be a 5-minute session with all the drivers aware that it's 5 minutes.
Yeah,
Or
10-minute
it's
session.
a 10-minute session. So we're now running the quali 2 that we should have had. So, yeah, apologies for anybody if it's disrupted your schedule. But hopefully we'll have a good qualifying session and that'll set the grid correctly for the race. It'll be interesting to see if there are any changes.
Yeah, some people saying that it's unfair for Jeroen Quakel that it had to be restarted, but I think Kuba and Jeroen, from what the Salis was saying in the chat there, was that they were both rooting for a restart anyway, so, everyone agreed for it, so that's why it's been restarted.
Indeed. They put it to a vote.
Yes, it'd be interesting to see if the results will stay the same.
Well, certainly Parizis and Patel aren't giving each other a whole lot of room on the track as they approach to do their first lap, and in the end Parizis goes first through the chicane. We might ride on board with Jim. We haven't seen a whole lot of action from Jim so far. He heads across the start-finish line to commence his first flying lap. Good entry into turn 1. Drifting out a little bit, but you've got to do that into the centre turn. And as he now approaches the very technical sector 1, turn 3, 4, 5, flat out through 5, usually getting a bit of drift there, and carefully approaching the apex to 6 and 7, trying to get the car rotated and get the power down as quickly as he dares. And you can see there him working the wheel with a bit of counter steer, because as you apply the power, the rear just gets a little bit loose. And now through 8, 9, the final chicane, and approaching the turn 10, the Casio hairpin. Certainly took as much apex there as you could want to. So it was pretty neat through turn 10 for Jim, our Melbourne race winner.
Yeah, very good race for Jim in Melbourne. Yeah, a very good race in Bahrain as well.
Yeah, well, he's leading the World Championship. Pretty tidy, very tidy. In fact, a slight touch of the Wall of Champions. Let's see how his time compares to Bigazzi. Couple of tenths off, so and Patel's gone quick as well. Well,
Mike Partington's doing pretty well.
Oh, 14.852 indeed.
Fantastic that from Mike there.
Partington goes to provisional pole. Mike's been very quick on the server, as I mentioned before, on the ACR server.
Pretty cool, 2 tenths off.
The laps are going to be coming quick and fast and furious. Brzezinski yet to settle up.
Jim Paris is his teammate George Manusakis. He's becoming to come round the last corner now, down the straight. full boost 2, go to the outside line to get the best run to the line, and he does a 1:15.528, which is a little bit off his teammate, but I think he should be pretty happy with that lap time. You know, sorry there, he's gone faster than his teammate Jim Freesis. Didn't see that. Sorry.
These two guys worked very well as a team in Bahrain. If you recall, Jim had a back of grid in Bahrain, so they threw the dice and gambled on strategy and ran very long on primes and basically dropped the stop. And Jim managed to hold off all but 3 other drivers to come fourth in Bahrain, and that was a real champion's drive. That impressive from back of grid. We've had a couple of those. Greco had a back of grid in Catalonia, and I think managed to drive through into about 5th or 6th from memory.
And also think Michi Hoyer's got a back of the grid for his collision in Spain, I believe.
That makes sense, yeah.
So as the second laps begin to come in, quite a few personal bests for the first sector. We've got Patel, Bagazzi and Paresis setting personal bests.
And we've got those same big gaps that we saw in the previous session. You know, a second so far, separating the top 10.
Yeah, it looks like Queekle's on a good lap. He's only, as he goes fastest in the middle sector, with 22.6, which I think is still a little bit off what we were seeing earlier today. So as Queekle begins to come down the last straight to cross the line, will he beat Mike Partington? No, by only half a tenth though. There's still got plenty of time left in the session to get another lap in. 4 minutes left. Mike Partington leads from your own Crackle for Francesco Bagazzi and Kuba Brzezinski.
Well, I'm not surprised to see Bagazzi up there near the front here in Canada, because he's qualifying last year, albeit in a totally different car. That 2012 spec Formula One car was absolutely electrifying. And Bagazzi is a driver who I think has got to be knocking on the door of a win. You know, second in Melbourne, third in Catalonia, and a very good qualifier. So he's just got to string it all together.
We've had another question come in, this time saying, what is the best looking car on the grid?
Well, that's a bit subjective, isn't it? It's whatever you think it is, sir, is the answer. I happen to really like my team livery, the Avid Chronic Racing. I kind of like the black with the orange. It reminds me a bit of the those orange arrows of around about sort of 2000. I wasn't a big fan of the late Tom Walkinshaw, but I loved the combination of black with a bit of orange. But there's some great looking graphics on these cars, but perhaps we shouldn't get distracted with this while we're in the dying stages of Quali 2. 2 minutes 25 left on the clock, and this is really the time for the final throw of the dice.
Yeah, exactly. And it looks like 5 drivers are in this for pole position by the looks of it.
Patel's about where he was in the previous go. Mikhail Andrzejowski is probably the big loser so far in this rejuvenated Quali 2, because he's lying in 8th, whereas I think he was third or 4th in the first iteration of Quali 2. And the big winner so far is Partington, who's up in P1 by a big fat 66 thousandth of a second. In fact, the gap that Partington and Quakel have over Brzezinski is sort of persuasive that really they're on pretty much at the edge of what can be done. Partington heading out to have another go, as is Andrzejowski, Bagazzi and Patel. So the guys are all watching the clock and going out with 1 minute and 25 seconds left to run. Just enough time to get back round to commence their final lap. So this is the absolute dying gasp of quali 2.
Yeah, exactly. I still think you can't count Quaker out of this. He's pretty fast, and whether or not he can do what I've seen him do with his personal best, then yeah, there's not really much more that can be said about that. But Mike's doing a fantastic job with a 14.8, which is fantastic for Mike. He did say that he was struggling this morning though to find some pace, but obviously he's got it now.
And Chowsky up on the second row now while we're chatting about that. So he's found some of his form again.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he's doing a fantastic job in his WC. I think it's his WC debut, isn't it?
It is, having moved up from pro.
He's doing a fantastic job then. I mean, 4th at the minute, whereas the last lap start coming in, 2 tenths off Partington. This should be pretty good for him.
So we'll have a look for a purple sector 1. Quakel hasn't gone purple. Kuba's on a PB on sector 1, and he hasn't got a 4. He's touched the wall now. I think that's ruined sector 2 for him. Bit ambitious on the exit of 7. It's a very, very tricky exit there, turn 7.
Partington's gone purple in the first sector, 22.384. So I think we should go on board with Partington as he goes through sector 2 now.
He's just got this car looking like it's on rails, hasn't he?
Yeah, exactly.
The turn in that he's getting is just amazing.
He hasn't had the best sector 2 though, with 22.658. But his first sector is very convincing that he could actually.
Yeah, he's within
improve.
a couple of years, within a tenth or so of the everyone else, I think, on sector 2.
Looks like Bugatti could be moving up.
346 top speed there.
Daniel Kiss moved up to 3rd place at 15.004, a tenth and a half off Quakel.
And Mike doesn't improve with that lap. A 1:15.1, so.
And Bugatti takes pole, a 1:14.768.
Wow.
Wow.
Fantastic.
Mike's probably not going to be very happy with that, nor will probably Quakel as well.
Well, I got to say, I bigged him up a bit, didn't I, Bugatti, with his qualifying potential here in Canada, and he's delivered. So bravo, Francesco Bugatti.
Fantastic lap.
Yeah, impressive. So, okay, well, this really has made it quite interesting, seeing Bugatti there in pole, because he's super quick. He's been driving with less and less errors. And, yeah, we might see him do something exciting today.
Yeah, exactly. He nearly got there in Spain, but just didn't have the pace over Daniel Kiss. But he'll be hoping that he can, get his first win today.
Well, Bugatti in Spain came 3rd. Kiss in fact won it, of course. Yeah, sorry, his teammate won
sorry,
it. Yeah.
Sorry,
yeah.
I forgot they came 3rd. I forgot that Cuba had a fantastic.
No, you were right in what you said was absolutely right. That Bugatti couldn't quite match Kiss. They had a massive battle into sector 1, and the 2 teammates. I hadn't all my fingers crossed, because the 2 guys were side by side through turn 3, through turn 4, and it was really only on the exit of 4 that Kiss was on the left. So it was the exit of 5 where really Bugatti had to allow him to have the apex, because 2 cars just can't go around turn 5 at Catalunya. And from that moment, Kiss was in clear air and drove away, and Bugatti. He and Bugatti cleared off actually, but Kuba pulled them in the end with a fantastic drive.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Kiss deserved that fully, but just imagine if there was just one more lap on that board And we
Yeah. Well, did you see that comment at the end? Somebody said, I think Kuba said, I just needed one more lap, and Daniel Kiss said his strategy was optimised for the number of laps that there were, which was a good answer.
Yeah, it's very competitive in the world of FSR, but yeah, it's pretty good. It's always nice to have a bit of banter, you could say.
Indeed. So we're back where we were now, with a bit of a warm-up happening, and it seems like there's been a lot of driving going on, and these guys are still looking down the barrel of a 70-lap World Championship race when this all gets going.
A few people complaining about the sun. Does look like it's a little bit lower than what it was for qualifying. Could make the final chicane a little bit.
And I'm just seeing a message there from the race director that it won't be an issue for the race. So there's probably just when the simulation is set up, they have to tell the simulation what time they want quality to be, what time they want the warm up to be. And while the race start time is about 3 p.m. in the sim, I think the warm up is probably at 10 a.m. So the sun is just in the guys' eyes as they approach the final chicane.
Yeah, exactly.
I tell you who's been driving, I think, pretty well and acquitting himself pretty well is James Sadler, who moved up from Pro to World Championship this season. James has been driving much more consistently. Remember last year, James had tremendous one-lap pace and he'd get himself into a tremendous situation, but would then, one little error and would have some damage. And what he's been finishing races and he's been finishing in the top 10. So James has really lifted himself to World Championship level.
Yeah, thank you to everyone who's put in some questions. Well, we've had another one come in saying, how bad does the dirty air get compared to real Formula 1?
Okay. Well, sadly, we can't compare it to real Formula 1 because we haven't driven those cars, but it is very, very significant. And with this particular mod, one of the features of it, and some of the guys have been saying it's fairly sensitive to dirty air, but it's a bit of an on-off situation. You might be, 20 meters back and really not getting much problem from dirty air, and then suddenly at 15 meters, a massive difference due to dirty air. But it is very, very significant. You can feel it in the front end immediately, and you end up having to use a lot more steered angle, and the fronts overheat a bit and they wear a bit more, and then you get worse turn in again. So it just becomes a bit of a domino principle. So you've got to really decide when you're going to push, when you're going to make your move, and if you're not, don't cook your tyres in dirty air. I think a great real-life example of that was last season in Interlagos, Hamilton and Rosberg. Rosberg was leading the race. I think he got pole as well, was leading the race, and Hamilton just got under his gearbox almost like it was some kind of demonstration drive, wanted to show how quick he was, but just destroyed his tyres, and Rosberg drove away from him. So it is very much the same in FSR, and dirty air has a big impact on the handling of the car, mainly front end grip. And this track, it's the fronts that wear most of all.
Yeah, exactly. The fronts do get a bit of a wow. What can I say without swearing?
Got a bit of a bashing.
A bit of a bashing. I think
bit of a hiding.
It's another one that begins with B, so I'll go with that.
Speaking of which, how many laps do you think these guys are going to get on Super Softs?
10 or 11. I see that David Cook did probably, I think, 13, I think.
Which is impressive.
Yeah, I would say 10, 11, and then softs probably 15 to 18. And we move to the race, so this could be very tense. So just like real Formula 1, we have a warm-up lap or formation lap. So Bugatti will be taking us for a lap. He'll be controlling the pace, get some heat in his tyres, get him heat in his brakes, get him ready, getting a feel for the heaviness of the car from warm-up, and just see how the car's feeling.
So drivers on the grid, and you can see there the order: Bugatti, Partington, Quakel, Kiss, Brzezinski, Antuchowski, Patel, Parizis, Manitsakis, Lieswa, and Michele D'Alessandro. And the rest of the names there you can read on the little totem pole on the left. Ambient temperature 10 degrees here at the Circuit de Gilles Villeneuve as the drivers head off on their formation lap. Looks like Michi Hoyer has elected to start from the pit lane, which makes a lot of sense here because it is a beautiful line from the pit lane into turn 2, and it's probably a better spot to start than the back of the grid.
I do think that he does have a back of the pit lane start though.
Oh,
or
thanks,
is it back
Chris.
of the grid? No,
even better reason.
I just heard that he was racing the WC and he was serving his penalty, so I presume that this is his penalty.
Yeah.
And Bugatti's getting a little hurry up from Chris Cobb to hurry up and get on the grid.
No, it looks like Kuba Brzezinski's had a technical problem and left. Yeah, Kuba had a disconnection or some kind of technical issue and left the sim, and now he's managed to get back in.
I think it's a good time to have a look at the questions just before we get ready to go. We've had one saying, what car do you prefer, last year or this year's car, and what are good and bad things about both?
Well, I drove last year and this year, albeit down. I'm just a mid-pack driver down in Pro, but I prefer this year's car. It's got bag loads of torque. The tyre that was developed for this car, and it went through a massive amount of testing and development. I think in about there are about 13 or 14 iterations of the tyre model over about a 2 or 3 week period, and it ended up with a tyre that just has amazing feel. And in my opinion, this car has more feel, more natural feel than the last year's car. You could get quick in last year's car, but I think it was a bit more from memory, and this one you drive more from feel. You feel the tyres start to go off a bit, you feel the grip going, and it's it's more immersive. It feels like you're driving a proper racing car. So yeah, I do much prefer this new car. And the boost makes it a bit more fun as well. The boost feature, the guys can press a button on the steering wheel and get about 80 horsepower of boost, which is going to give you a little bit more acceleration, not a whole lot more top end speed. So they tend to use it out of a slow corner and onto a long straight to get the best out of it. But it increases fuel consumption, temperatures and engine wear. So you've got to be a little bit careful how much you use it, or if you're going to use it a lot, set your radiator and your cooling levels accordingly. But in World Championship, the guys they're a bit limited by fuel capacity as to how much they can use boost, because this track uses with only a couple of squirts of boost, you will use 2 litres a lap, and these guys have only got 141 litres, and they've got to do a formation lap plus 70 laps, so they're right on the limit of fuel consumption, and so they'll be measuring out the boost and keeping an eye on their fuel delta. And this is another beautiful feature of this simulation. There are tools available like Dash Meter Pro and Track Map, where you can monitor your fuel margin. It'll show you your current fuel level, but show you how many litres left, are required to do the rest of the race distance based on your current consumptions. And it'll show you the delta. And if you go into the red zone and you see, well, you're 3 litres into the red, you've got to start doing some serious fuel saving. So the guys are managing all of that as the race unfolds, which is, quite exciting and quite fun. What was the question again? No, only kidding. Yeah, I prefer this year's car. So Bugatti brings it onto the grid for us. And lines it up, and we look for the lights.
Does look like Bugatti's parking it a little bit to the right just to see if he can fend off Mike Partington as we go into turn 1.
Yeah, good spot. So here we are, April 21, Montreal, Circuit de Gilles Villeneuve for round 4 of the Formula Sim Racing World Championship season. And we're waiting for the lights to go out. And the cars are away for the first of 70 laps. Bit of jostling amongst the first 2 rows. And Partington looks like he's gained the upper hand. He's certainly on the inside of the centre corner. And Partington has managed to... Oh no, Bigazi's fighting back with tremendous drive out of turn 2. And Bigazzi has regained the lead. That was a very, very strong move from Bigazzi. Incredible drive, really. I thought that was all done and dusted. But he fought back with amazing spirit there to regain the lead. So that was, hats off for that. That was brave on lap 1. But it's paid off for him. So Bigazzi 1, Partington 2, Kiss 3, Quakel 4, Brzezinski 5th. We don't appear to have any issues further down the back of the grid.
Yeah, it looks like Bigazzi might be using a bit of boost too now, but whether or not that will affect him later on in the race. Because he seems to be pulling away from Partington down the second straight.
Let's see if I can get a top speed reading. And what Bigazzi will of course try to do, if at all possible, is to break what we call the DRS toe. If he can establish a gap greater than 1 second on Mike Partington, that will mean Mike will not have DRS on him. And if he can't break that toe, Partington's going to have a lovely little DRS ride basically for the length of this island, while he maintains his DRS distance. But Bigazzi, of course, has clean air. Beautiful clean air flying over, going over that front wing, pressing those front tyres into the road. And Partington having to deal with a little bit of an understeery car due to the dirty air that we mentioned before.
Yeah, exactly. And one thing Mike's got to be careful of is he doesn't get too close, and that dirty air can ruin his tyres quite quickly. So it's just Mike might be thinking about easing off a little bit and just playing it by the strategy. Just hoping he can get an undercut on Bigazzi later on in the race.
Well, the only thing, of course, is he's got Kiss, Bigazzi's teammate, breathing down his neck as well. And Bigazzi, the car is just looking beautiful. It's turning in well. He's just absolutely placing it on the apex with pin-perfect accuracy. And he's got 0.9 of a second, and we're only on lap 2.
Yeah, it does seem like Bigazzi is pulling away now. It looks like he could be out of DRS trouble by the end of this lap.
So that's impressive. The rest
He's
of them
getting very close to the wall though.
And we've got two cars out, and I'm afraid I didn't see that accident. We had Journey Simojic and Camille Lieswa. Look, one saying accident and the other one saying suspension. So while we're doing that call on the leaders, I'm afraid we missed that incident. George, our producer, may wish to rewind that and give you all a view of what happened, if at all possible.
Yeah, so 2 Ghost Speed cars out in the first lap. Yeah, sorry to the viewers for missing that though. Does seem like Mike is holding on to the back of Bigazzi a little bit.
I've just gone back to have a bit of a look at the Simojic incident. I'll be back with you shortly.
Yeah, fine. Yeah, so Mike's now crawling it back. It's now only 0.8 of a second now. You can see that DRS flap is open. So hopefully he'll be gaining a few miles per hour on Mike as we come through the last chicane. Daniel Kiss does seem to be falling back a little bit into the clutches of Jeroen Quakel.
Yes, the Simojic incident was an own goal, I'm afraid. It was the exit of turn 4 or 5, the downhill chicane, and just lost the rear of the car onto the grass. So big shame for Journey. But that's what happened.
Yeah, so not the best debut for Camille.
Camille I haven't seen as yet.
Yeah, it looks like Mike's beginning to come back at Bigazzi now. It's now only 0.6 of a second. Of course, DRS is obviously helping him, but he seems to be holding on quite nicely. Hopefully he can keep his tyres in good shape and we can get some good action from you guys. Jerome Quaker was right on the back of Daniel Kiss as they go down the back straight.
And Camille was a very similar incident, actually, an own goal as well. Just lost the rear of the car in the tricky sector 2. So back with you now.
I think George might want to go on board with Jerome Quaker now. He's got a good run on Daniel Kiss, but I don't think he'll be able to make it stick into turn 1. No, he's not having a look at all. A little bit too far back, I would say. He's surely going to be hungry to get a good position this time around. Bit disappointed with his result in Spain from his YouTube video that he posted. It's never nice finishing behind your teammate. Yeah, so he rode in his first full season of FSR World Championship. He did win in Suzuka last year with our first retiree, Journey Simichich, behind. That was a good race, I thought, but quite a good scrap.
And Partington does have a DRS attack, but he's too far back to get the job done before the final chicane. Quaker, of course, as you suggested, had DRS on Kiss. And as the guys now start lap 6, these tyres are about as good as they're going to get. The temps have well and truly come in, so should be offering quite a lot of grip. But wear levels, most of these guys will be on the super soft, will have probably 75% left. And that's from here on in is where these tyres just start to lose a little bit of life and require just a little bit more babying. But it's something that the drivers at World Championship level are well and truly adept at doing.
Yeah, exactly. And Victor Ivanov has pitted in. Don't know what's happened there. He pitted in for the set of soft tyres and he seems to have parked it. Oh, he's retired with suspension damage.
Suspension damage, okay.
Unlike from what we've seen in the Ace Pro race, everyone seems to be holding and buying their time. It's a long race, it's 70 laps, you know, anything could happen. It's just, I think they're just trying to keep themselves to their own at the minute and just buy it by, hopefully another driver makes a mistake and they gain the position.
Oh no, Ivanov was damaged with a lag issue. It was a lagging Blair Disley. And Blair, who's a very good driver and is a veteran of World Championship from SimRacing, Blair joins us from Australia, and sometimes the ping on his connection isn't fabulous. And poor old Victor was driving with some clear air around him, and suddenly he was pretty much on top of Blair Disley's car. So sorry to see that happen to Victor. That's the story of where that damage came from. So 3 retirements so far as we as the drivers get through lap 7, and it just goes to show, I mean, Canada is not a track to be underestimated, and that's the thing. You arrive and you look at it, you think it's pretty simple, a bit of a drag down the island from turn 10 all the way down to the center corner, turn 2, and then a bit of a twisty bit and a drag back up the island. But it is just so easy to get it wrong here because it's, you know, you're going flat out at 340 kilometres an hour in one moment, and then you're in a second gear chicane or a first gear hairpin, and it's a tricky old spot. And as you can see from the broadcast, you're never far from the barriers, and that's the difference between this and Monza, where the speeds are very high as well.
So George Manusakis is there's been an accident. He's rolled it. George Manusakis has rolled his car and has crashed. With it looks like Alvaro Torres, I believe.
It's involved several other drivers now. Yeah. Dear me.
I just seen in the chat that Madcapers posted saying that George is struggling with wheel issues. Oh, and it's took John Eric Saxon out of the race as well. I'm sure George, our cameraman, will give you a view of what actually happened there. It looked like he was on the outside of the
Alvaro Torres.
Yeah, and it looked like he just
he just lost the front end into the chicane. I think that was a driver error. He lost the front end, started sliding over the anti-cut into the air, and it's mayhem. Georg, Sadler, dear me, massive consequences to that issue.
Yeah, Navarro Torres is outside that in there, David, but Navarro Torres is out with an outer rear wing, so he obviously had some damage from what happened with George.
Well, I'll be surprised if Chris de Jong makes it away without some damage there as well. So I'll have a look at his steering wheel angle and see if he's got to turn left to go straight or not.
It does look fine from my perspective.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it does seem to be okay. And James Sadler, I'll have a look at James Sadler now, because James Sadler seemed to be in amongst all that.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was saying about the brakes, about how you can easily use the brakes with this car. Just a little bit too late on the brake and you can easily spin this car around. It looks like Mike Partington is right on the back of Bugatti now, only half a second separating them.
Yeah, certainly keeping the pressure on. Lap 9. And we're approaching, of course, the first pit window, and we'll see who blinks first. And I think looks like the pace between these guys is so close, it's really going to boil down to time management. And I think the first guy to pit is probably the guy that's going to be least likely to bring the victory home, because it means the other guy is managing his tyres better. I do know that Mike takes a very let's call it scientific approach to his tyre management. He can tell you lap after lap the exact percentage.
And Bugatti's in the pits.
Yep, Bugatti pitting, Partington going on.
So it looks like he could be doing a long second stint for Bugatti. So obviously they are quite confident with their tyre wear.
Well, Partington will know exactly what tyre wear he needs, and he'll also be driving to a target tyre wear level rather than just attacking willy-nilly.
And D'Alessandro's in the pits as well. So Bugatti's out on the prime tyre, the soft tyre.
And rejoined in 9th place, just behind Masculi. So Masculi is on worn super softs, and these super softs are not looking that good. So the softs come in very quickly here, so he should be able to attack Masculi and dispatch him fairly quickly. But we'll be seeing a flurry of activity in the pits now, any next time round.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, James Sadler's just pitted as well from 15th place. You could say the last of the running drivers. He's pitted for a set of the prime tyre as well, the soft tyre.
The pace difference between the prime and the option here, less than typical. I think a lot of tracks we go to, and Mike's in the pits, Daniel Kiss in the pits, Quakel in the pits, they've all followed each other in.
And Patel
and Chowsky.
So Kuba Brzezinski's leading this race at the minute.
Busy pit lane. And Chowsky had to reverse into his pit box, so that's going to hurt him a bit.
Mascuri's out of the race, don't know what happened there. I'm just watching the replay of that now. It seems to be he seems to have Bugatti behind him. So let's see what happened there. It just looked like Masculi disconnected.
Oh dear, that's a shame. Hate to see that happen to people.
Yeah, he was just going down the back straight and then he just went into his garage, so I don't know what happened there.
Well, Brzezinski is lapping at 0.3 of a second off his best lap time, which has indicated that his tyres are starting to go away as well. And it's a very hard track to manage tyres. I don't think you can lap at a competitive pace here and nurse tyres. And yes, Kuba's coming into the pits, because to go quick here, you've got to push in Sector 1, and that's where you hurt the fronts. So
Yes,
there's no
exactly.
lapping. There's no lapping at a good pace here and saving tyres. There's no technique. I don't think where you can get a balance where that will happen.
Yeah, Mike and all the other drivers did a good thing by trying to not get undercut there. It looked like they've all come out in the same sort of place, same time frame. But it looks like Quakel could be having a good run on Kiss as we go down the back straight.
Yeah,
Be interesting to see what happens.
Brzezinski folds back into P5 just ahead of Mo Patel.
All one line. All our leaders are in one big line.
It's tight.
Triple DRS for Quakel.
Lap 12 and 1.9 seconds covers first to fifth. So the winner's going to come out of this lot. Let's just see who can keep it tidy. And it's just a reminder of how tough it is to get 70 laps done at Canada without damaging your car.
Yeah, exactly. People at home don't know how physically demanding these sort of races are. You've got to concentrate. There's a lot of pressure on them to do well, and literally just come out of. I did 53 laps and I was sweating and couldn't do no more.
Yeah, I did one sector and I was sweating as well. So Quakel's gone purple in sector 1, but it's not going to do much for him because he's just stuck behind these other guys. All of them as well on the same tyre, so they've all gone for the same strategic option. And Bugazzi, yeah, is exited back in the lead. The only thing I would say is that if Brzezinski can add a lap to that stint and add maybe a couple of laps to this next stint, by the end he could be in a situation where he's got fresher tyres on which to attack. Now I know that
exactly.
Kuba and Jerome are both being engineered by the same guy today, Paschalis Gergis, who is one of the ACR race drivers, a second place getter from yesterday, and Paschalis, or Pash as his friends call him, he's on the pit wall helping both these guys with their strategy. And that's what these guys do. They'll have somebody on the pit wall talking to them. They can actually see their tyre wear levels, see their temps, all the key stats, and also look at what all the other drivers are doing around them, pretty much what we're doing, but without having to, call the race to you. More a case of saying, well, look, cover this guy, now's the time to pit, push now. So it's a bit of a high speed, it's a 340 kilometre an hour chess game out there as they decide how to overcome one another. But it can come down to
just right on the back of Daniel Kiss. Sorry to butt in.
Oh yeah, very close.
It looks like Quakel just gave him a little love tap at the middle of the hairpin there.
Disley and Hodas in the pits. Disley started off on the primes, and it looks like he's going for the primes again. Hodas as well. Yeah, both sticking with primes.
Yeah, and as you were saying about the tyres, it is very hard to stay fast and keep the tyres in check. When I was doing the pro race, it was literally like, yeah, I was speaking to Mitchie Hoyer, who's the ACR, team principal, and he come to me and said, yeah, your tyre wear is not good, you need a conserver, and I'm like, I'm conserving.
Yeah, exactly. Now we've got a bit of an interesting sub-battle happening down here. Blair Disley's exited the pits on fresh rubber, just behind the 11th placed Chris de Jong. Chris's tyres are looking a little bit second-hand, and Blair might be going to try to attack him. If nothing else, is if these guys in the top 5 are holding station for a moment, we might see something interesting happening here between Disley and de Jong. Disley gets a reasonably good exit out of the turn 10 hairpin, casino hairpin, and onto the straight. And let's see if Disley can get some. Yeah, he's got DRS, but de Jong moves to the right, but then moves back to the left. That's pushing the rule book to the limits there. Strictly speaking, if you'd move to the inside to cover, which you're entitled to do, you've got to take the corner from there. You can't move to the right to cover and then go, oh goodness, I'd rather attack this corner from the outside and then move back to the left again. So once you make your move, you're committed. You can't weave backwards and forwards. You've got to stick with a line that you committed to. But Blair's a seasoned campaigner and has very good racecraft. I think he may end up having another crack and getting it done next time round.
Yeah, so the gap at the front seems to be pretty much even between all four cars, about half a second between them. Looks like Kuba's holding back, just, you know, buying his time.
Well,
you could say.
You know what? That's exactly what he did in Catalonia. I was talking to Kuba afterwards, and Kuba had about 12% more tyre life left. If we can be on board with Blair Disley again, that'd be brilliant, because he's just a bit closer to De Jong again. He'll have another go against De Jong. As they head up the Casino Straight, and the speed should be fairly high here. De Jong's got DRS. He'll be deploying boost. He's got up to 340 kph already, and De Jong cannot move back now. That was, yeah, oh, he's just overshot the braking mark ever so slightly. So Disley had to cede the position back and take the exit route there. So no harm done. Both drivers end up with four wheels on their wagon. That's a corner where you cannot, two cars cannot go through there side by side. The rules dictate that if you've got to overlap, you're entitled to racing room, but there is no such thing as racing room into the final chicane here at the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve.
Yeah, exactly. We saw it in the Ace race as well. You just can't go side by side. There'll just be an accident. One person needs to go, okay, fair enough, you've got me this time, or, yeah, I'm not going to overtake you.
Well, the first half of that move by Blair was a really cool move. It was almost a reflection of the move from the lap before, but with a bit more emphasis, as if to say, okay, I'm right beside you, move back to the left this time, buddy. And Chris had to stay to the inside, and Blair had the better entry line there, but just overcooked his braking marker ever so slightly. Jim Parise is pitting now. Now, I've just got to check with Jim Parise as if that's it can't be his first stop, surely.
Well, he's put on another set of the option super soft tyre, so
he has.
It was an interesting.
Well, that was a 5-lap stint. What is he doing?
Maybe he's got a bit of damage.
He did 10 laps on the first set of super softs and only 5 laps on that set. So, yeah, you might be right. Jim might have had to come in for a bit of a front wing repair or something like that.
Good news is he's come out with a 6.5 second buffer to Mikkel and to Hosky.
So Partington getting used to seeing the gearbox of Francesco Bigazzi here. Two very quick guys, and Mike's just having to show a fair bit of patience here as he tries to hunt down Bigazzi.
Yeah, unfortunately all these cars are equal, so he's not going to gain anything about the diffuser like you could in real Formula 1.
Well, exactly. We've got 5 guys within 2.5 seconds. All of them are race-winning class drivers. Well, all of them are race-winning drivers. Every one of these guys, except Francesco Bigazzi, has won. Or Mike, I think Mike. Mike was leading in Spa last year, but had a bit of a problem with a gear shift. And Jim is back in the pits again. Jim is having issues. I don't know what it is. Oh, this one looks like a drive-through. He's just driving down pit lane.
Obviously got caught speeding or something.
Yeah, they're very strict though. So now he's locked up his brakes. He's going to retire.
That's a shame, really.
That gives me the impression that the drive-through didn't clear. He might have kept getting repeat drive-throughs, and which is a great shame because Jim is our World Drivers' Championship leader at the moment, and this will be a no points, which is it's a shame to see the lead in the standings change based on that. Meanwhile, up the front, it's business as usual. Brzezinski chasing Quakel, Quakel chasing Kiss, Kiss chasing Partington, Partington chasing Bigazzi. There won't be any tangible difference in their lap times because they're all line astern, going as quick as they can, looking after the tyres as best they can, and hoping somebody else blinks first.
Yeah, the gap definitely is coming down now. Bigazzi must be struggling with his tyres or something, or trying to conserve them.
Well, Bigazzi went in first. Bigazzi went in lap 9, and I don't know how you found it, Chris, but what I found in my testing was the primes, they're very stable, but they kind of give up around about the same number of laps as for me, about the same number of laps as the Super Soft. I couldn't get much more out of them than about 12 laps. And
as you said, I can't really comment about that because I didn't do much testing before the race on the soft tyre. But yeah, I was mostly conserving my soft tyres. I had a pit early after an unfortunate accident. But yeah, you just got to keep up with the pace. They're very consistent, unlike the super softs. But yeah, they do kind of give up about the 50% mark. So about now they will be struggling.
No, exactly. It won't surprise me if we see Bugatti pit, actually, which if he does, it's a problem. No, he's going around again.
Oh, Jim Parisa's got disqualified.
So what that was about was the simulation was not recording his drive-throughs. That's what I think it might have been, because he went back to do a drive-through and completed the drive-through. But as he exited it, you could see that the drive-through hadn't cleared and that he was going to be disqualified. So, real shame.
Yes, we've got a sort of trilly train going on now, is what the comments are saying.
Yeah, indeed. It'll start to bust apart in my money says within the next couple of laps, because we're getting towards the second pit window. They've moved to the prime tyre. All the cars will have slightly different balance on the prime tyre. The drivers will have a preference for one or the other, even though they've felt strategically that this is the best move to make. And if, for example, Kuba, who went the longest on the option, if he can go a little bit longer again on these, it just means that he is going to have beautiful tyres later in the race, and that it can be down to one more lap each stint to bring it all alive. And in fact, Kuba having a bit of a cheeky look down the inside of Kiss there, more of just a wave, I'm here sort of thing, rather than a serious attack.
Yeah, exactly. These guys know that it's not one right now. It's one, 50 laps away. So I think they're just going about their own business. Really, they're just following each other.
Yeah, albeit at 1 minute 18 seconds flat. And anyone out there who does have rFactor 2, the mod is free to download from formulasimracing.net, and the track is free to download from formulasimracing.net. So we actually have our servers open during the week to the public. They only get passworded on the weekend for the race. So if you want to get on the track and have a go and see how your lap times compare with these drivers who are the best in the world, get involved and have a go. Get a feel of what it's like. You'll only come back with more respect to when you watch the stream, to see what it takes to consistently lap in this sort of proximity with these drivers at this sort of pace.
Yeah, exactly. It's free mod, either AMA or FSR, and they're really good mod. Really, spent a lot of time on it, so yeah, free to download. That's what I did, and look where I am. I mean, I started off racing on Codemasters F1 games. I know that. So your own Quaker, who's in 4th, he started on the Codemaster games. Look where he is. Yep.
I think a lot of us did, and they're a ton of fun, the Cody's F1 sims. And then you start to look for more, a bit more simulation, a bit more authenticity, the toughest competition of all. I know Viktor Ivanov, who was in the race today, when I was driving the Cody's game in 2010, he was the fastest in the world on most tracks in the time attack type criteria. And yeah, the cream of the crop moves forward and looks for more challenge, and I think that rFactor 2 gives that, and certainly Formula Sim Racing gives that. And I think your little story is a great example, Chris. You started off in AMA because there's an attack here.
Here comes Quakel.
Quakel attacking the outside of Kiss. Pretty strong move. Pretty brave move down the outside of the hairpin, hoping for a better drive, and it's going to pay off. He's got DRS, Kiss has got DRS, but Quakel's got the top speed. Kiss can hold his position from there, but the two of them will not be able to go through together. And Quakel seeds the line into the chicane.
I'm just wondering if him and Brzezinski made contact. Quakel seems to be lagging on my screen.
Yeah, I'm getting a bit of lag as well from Quakel. These cars are disappearing and appearing in funny places.
I think it all looks to be okay now, though.
He did have some technical issues in Melbourne related to some hardware that he invested in, but I thought he'd put all that behind him. This section that they're at now is where you see a lot of own goals. You know, that exit at turn 7, you've got the car rotated so much, and it's so easy to get throttle oversteer there because you're trying to get on it. It's a pretty long straight up to the 8-9 chicane, so you want to get the power down as quickly as you can to get the speed. But if you've got any steered angle left, the car just wants to rotate on you. So let's see if Quakel gets any more of a run on Kiss. He's certainly as close as last time round.
Kuba must be loving this.
Yeah, well, Kuba, that's the thing we touched on before. Kuba back in Catalonia, all he did was just enough to maintain DRS. We've got some Bugatti into the pits, Kiss into the pits. So Bugatti and Kiss have blinked first, both teammates, so they'll be on similar tyre strategies. So that was 13 laps Bugatti managed on the prime tyre. Now let's see if Partington is released at all to start doing some quicker sector times. We'll keep an eye on Mike Partington's sectors.
Yeah, it's a bit early I think, for the Twister cars to be pitting.
Yeah,
what's it, 14, 15 laps?
Well, 13 laps on these tyres, you know, for my money, that's about as much as I could do. So I was amazed when David Cook, I think, did a 15-lap stint earlier today, but
yeah, exactly.
my memory might be playing tricks on me. So let's see what happens now. I think Partington was the next to pit last time round. Daniel Kiss has gone purple in Sector 1, so his new tyres are feeling good. But he's exited this time on the primes again. Bugatti primes again, who's coming up to lap Mikhail Antichowski. Oh no, pardon me, he's not lapping in. They're fighting for position because he's pitted and returned behind Mikhail. Pardon me, Mikhail.
So he's going to be losing a bit of time unless he gets past.
Okay, Partington has pitted, so like clockwork, same as the last time round, he pitted 1 lap after Bugatti.
So, exactly.
And Brzezinski pitted 2 laps after Bugatti. So won't be surprised, and I'll kind of be impressed if Brzezinski manages to put in maybe 2 more laps now. What he's doing, it's like putting money in the bank. He's saving up a beautiful set of tyres for the end that he can just hammer it.
Oh, Mike's just come out ahead of Daniel Kiss. Oh.
Okay, well that's a result then. Well, he's back where he started, isn't he? Just behind Bugatti on track.
Yeah, exactly. But Kiss is definitely a lot closer. Looks like OFR are trying to extend their stint a little bit with both Quakel and Brzezinski staying out. Let's see if they pit this lap.
Yeah, Quakel's getting a bit of lock up under brakes there, so he's braking very hard into the turn 10 hairpin. Brzezinski will be just sitting on his tail, getting DRS every lap. Yeah, as DRS opens. So Quakel at the moment doesn't have DRS, but clear air. Quakel may well pit this time round, and yeah, both pitting. Yeah, both Quakel and Brzezinski pitting, so not able to extract anything superhero-like out of the prime stint.
Yeah, exactly. It's not the easiest pit entry, this, because it goes from, braking zone of turn, the last corner straight.
And Bugatti's just waved, given them a bit of a metaphoric wave as he cruises past the pits, and Quakel rejoins just behind Kiss.
I would say a little bit closer now. What's happened to Kuba?
Kuba's behind Mohammed Patel.
Okay, that's a bit interesting.
So
what happened
did
there?
Mohammed Patel pit? Mohammed Patel undercut Kuba. He's 2 laps into his...
Kuba missed his stop. Quakel's blocked Kuba's entry.
Oh no, that is shared box, did they?
Oh yeah.
Oh dear me.
Kuba had to wait for Quakel to move.
That explains that. Bad call, guys. They should have been on top of that. In theory, they could have known if they had a shared stall, because a practice pit stop. But you've got to get both guys to do that at the same time. So Pashalis Gurgis will be tearing his hair out at the moment that he sent both his guys into the pits and one of the cars wasn't able to be serviced. But all is not lost. I'd say it's more Mohammed Patel's made a gain than Kuba's made a loss. He's only 7.3 seconds back from Bugatti. He's fast. He's got all four wheels on his wagon, as they like to say. But a little bit more work to do now. One place down on where he was.
Yeah, so Mike Partington's a little bit far back. He doesn't have DRS, but he could be coming under a bit of pressure from Kiss, though. That's if Quakel doesn't have him.
So the guys are obviously liking the Prime tyre over the Super Soft.
It's probably because it's more consistent.
Yeah.
You can go longer on it as well. So Martin Hodas has just come into the pits.
Exiting on primes.
Oh, he's got a little bit wide on the exit though. So we're nearly 27 laps into this race, and yeah, 13 drivers left.
The attrition rate here at Canada has been very, very high, and a lot of it to do with the final chicane. There was talk of maybe trying to bring Monza, Quakel having a big attack at Kiss into turn 1, turn 2. Quakel's got the inside as they exit the centre corner, and looks like Quakel's got the job done. Yeah, big attack there.
Exactly.
George may wish to replay that if we didn't get that live, but that was a bold and successful move to take position on Kiss. Truly trained my eye. It's all action here at the front.
Yeah, Quakel needed to get that done. Now he's hopefully got a poke at Partington maybe, and maybe even Bugatti later on in the race. So Partington does have DRS now, unlike what he had when he pitted.
So Mohammed Patel is holding a very steady gap to these guys. He's 6 seconds off the lead, which is about where he was 14 laps ago. He's got them inside as he rounds turn 1. The other guys are in the apex of turn 2. He's got Brzezinski on his tail, and you never know. Patel and Brzezinski the two of them might manage to start closing the gap a bit and making this a six-way battle.
Yeah, it's a little bit too far back at the minute, but if they start battling at the front, it could easily bring them back into play.
Yeah, 42 laps. And I'm just looking at Michele D'Alessandro. Michele drove a stunning race in Melbourne. He started outside the top 10, and he joined a massive battle which was occurring between Bugatti, Brzezinski and Patel. And they'd been locked into battle for the entire race, and D'Alessandro arrived and just blew that apart and got in front of them with one more driver to get, and just had a slight oversteer moment out of that tricky final corner in Melbourne, and that ended Michele's race. But it had been a sterling drive to see what they can manage to do. I'm wondering if somebody might pull the trigger on an undercut onto the options, Chris. Whether somebody decides, right, I'm going to dive into the pits, put on a set of fresh options and get track position, and from there I'll manage the tyres. I'll survive somehow until we all pit again.
Yeah, exactly. It's only like a 14.5 second pit stop, so they don't lose that much time.
You can do it in 13, 13 to 14.
Yeah.
It's not a short pit lane, but of course you don't have to do the chicane, and you approach it at such massive speed. You brake actually later than you do if you're trying to make the chicane. And the exit is a beautiful exit where you miss turn 1 and you miss half of turn 2. So it's really it's probably the nicest pit entry and pit exit in the whole calendar. I suppose Monza's up there as well. But
Looks like a nice little battle shaping up for 11th with James Sadler on the back of Chris de Jong.
and we didn't see Blair Disley cleared de Jong in the end. We didn't catch that, unfortunately.
I think it might have been in the pit stops.
Ah, okay. I think, yeah, I'm riding on board with Sadler, and he seems to have the wood on de Jong. I'm wondering de Jong might even have a tiny bit of damage from that chicane issue that occurred.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
What James Sadler's probably focusing on here is just finishing in the points. If he can consistently keep finishing in the points in World Championship, that means he's properly arrived as a championship driver in FSR. He just got close enough to Chris de Jong there for de Jong to do a little bit of a defensive jink. And Chris is a guy that he's merciless in defence. He will use every trick in the book. Park his car on the apex.
Like he's just done there.
Make it as big as he possibly can, and it's an art form defending well.
Yeah, I was speaking to Chris during the AMA broadcast, and he was saying that he's kind of like Senna in the way that he attacks. He's like, I'll put my car there. If you want to survive, you got to let me pass.
Yeah.
Or we have an accident.
Well, if I was to be a little bit critical of Chris, and I work very well with Chris, but in turn exit, if he decides the corner's his, he doesn't leave much room for you. Whereas I think the rules dictate that you are required to leave racing room if the other guy's got overlap. But Chris sort of takes the view that if the corner's his, you can find somewhere to put your car. I'm not going to give you any space. So, but hey,
he seems to be right on the back.
He's
definitely going to get past them now by the looks of it.
They've come to race. Who did you say, Chris?
James Sadler's on the back of Chris de Jong.
All right, yeah, I'm on board.
It looked a bit closer, but it looks like the Ghost Speed might not have the straight line speed.
Yeah, he might be hitting the limiter.
Blair Disley's in the pits. Another set of Prime tyres.
So our last stops were at about 22, weren't they?
Yeah, about that, yeah. I think 23, was when Quakel pitted.
Okay. So probably 35 next time round. 4 more laps. Sadler's getting close enough to really start haranguing Chris de Jong now. Chris has a guest drive today with a team called Scuderia Basilia. He drives in Ace category in his own team, which is called Naked GP. He maintains that this team has required him to wear a uniform and not drive in his customary uniform. And Sadler's got a nice attack under braking happening at the turn 10 chicane. Very close, as close as he would like to de Jong. Good drive, and he's going to have a lot of slipstream effect now, even before it opens. But I'm just going to look at his dash. He's hitting the limiter at 343 kph, and I think that might be the issue.
Chris must have good straight line speed.
Yeah, and that's the thing, of course, when they set the car up, if they're setting it up for the optimum performance over a lap, you don't rely on having DRS for that lap. And if you've got DRS, you go quicker. DRS and boost, you go quicker again. DRS, boost and a slipstream, and you go quicker again. So if you're setting your gearing to be able to maximise that opportunity, you're not really going to be getting optimum revs when you're in clear air and with no DRS. So it's a bit of a trade-off.
Definitely looks like Mike Partington's
Indeed,
right
Mike at the front there. Partington on Bugatti, very ambitious into turn 1.
There.
He's really measuring out that attack beautifully.
Who says FSR is boring?
It's all opening up now, and Quakel all over the back of Partington at the same time. So the guys are really starting to mix it up now. They've decided it's time to party. And they're on tyres that are only a couple of laps away from a pit stop. So this is where the real skill comes in. And we see who's got the skills to pay the bills, because it is not easy to do what these guys are trying to do on tyres that are well past their best.
Yeah, it looks like Kuba Brzezinski's on the back of Mohammed Patel now. I wouldn't want to be the engineer of both Mike Partington and Kuba Brzezinski right now. I think that's David Cook's doing the ACR drivers today.
Yes, I think so.
So
Yeah,
good
David
luck,
Cook,
David.
the pro race winner from this round and the previous round. He's spannering for the ACR World Championship drivers. Yeah, things are getting a bit intense again at the front. I think the guys know that if they can, any advantage they can seize between now and the next pit window. And Quakel attacking Partington into turn one. Partington's seasoned campaigner, though, he's got other things on his mind, and he's leaving Quakel just enough room to stay legal. But I think Quakel might have pulled it off. He's going to have the advantage into the apex of turn three. And Quakel's pulled off another pass.
Though.
That is
good
really
racing.
elegant passing there. So Quakel has made 2 moves in the last couple of laps and finds himself now in 2nd place. Fantastic drive.
Exactly. Fantastic. A good defender for Mike as well. He gave Jeroen just enough room.
Yeah, he pushed it to the limit. He did everything he could humanly do and stay while staying legal. So that was great, respectful and high-level driving from both of them.
Exactly.
Now, Kuba's on. I'm just looking at Kuba on the back of Patel, seeing if he can somehow launch an attack. He's right on Patel's gearbox as they exit turn 10. There's a bit of that yo-yo or concertina effect as Patel is on the gas earlier, but that gap, while it's widening, is actually the same gap in time. It's just more in distance. And Brzezinski is coming out with a move. Can Patel block him this time? This time. Well, I tell you what, I'll eat my hat. 2 of them got through that chicane side by side. And you couldn't have had a stronger attack and you couldn't have had a stronger defence. These guys in Melbourne basically did half a lap together in a battle to sort this out side by side. So
yeah, they
very good
racing. Quite well.
Amazing attacking here from Brzezinski and equally amazing defending from Patel. Brzezinski's just got to clear Patel though. He's got to get by. He's 7 seconds back from the lead cars now, and he's absolutely got to clear Patel.
Yeah, meanwhile, while that is all going on, James Sadler still can't get past Chris de Jong. Looks like Quakel could be having Bugatti anytime soon. We hope that for a good race.
Pretty small gap.
Yeah. It does look like the Twister car is better coming out of the hairpin.
Now, Michele D'Alessandro is basically on the back of Brzezinski now. He's those 2 guys have just been joined really by a 3rd driver. He's almost there with them. He's within a DRS shot.
He's within an undercut as well.
Yeah, indeed. Quakel's in front of Bugatti. When did that happen?
I'll have a look.
Sorry, if you got that pass, George, if you got that pass, if you could potentially rewind that, that'd be amazing, because we've just had the leads just changed hands and we unfortunately didn't manage to gather it in for people.
Yeah, round the outside and the inside of turn 2. Quakel just forced his way in there. That was absolutely fantastic. Quakel definitely wants this win. So the gap's now 7 tenths. So Quakel is pulling away. 8 tenths now. Quakel is on it.
I don't know where George is with the replay, but yeah, Quakel just a massive move down the outside of turn 1. Positioned his car beside Bugatti, really a carbon copy of the move he made on Partington. He tested it out on Partington. There's a little bit of wheel banging and amazing pass as Quakel passes. So it takes Bugatti for the lead in this race. Exactly.
Absolutely fantastic.
Complete mirror image of the work that he did with Partington before. So tremendous wheel-to-wheel driving. Awesome.
So it looks like a 16-17 lap stint now for Bugatti. He's probably going to put on the soft tyre and do probably 16 laps or 17 laps and then another 16 laps till the end.
And just manages to rejoin in front of Antachowski this time.
He's in a bit of free air as well, so that should help him. Yeah, Quaker 1.7 ahead of Partington now. Quaker he's pushing, but hopefully he doesn't push too hard. That's the last thing we want is him to ruin his tyres. He Quaker kind of reminds me of Kamui Kobayashi in the 2010 Japanese Grand Prix with the overtaking to the hairpin.
Yeah,
How he
that
did
was.
that every time. It looks
No,
like
that was.
Quaker was kind of like mastered turn one.
Well, that was very, very clever, wasn't it? Because he just worked out that if he went in deep enough, even though he's on the outside of turn one, if he could get some... And Quaker pitting after 13 laps on his second set of primes. He did 15 laps on his first set, so I think Quaker is probably trying to cover off Bigazzi. But yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
Partington, Kiss, Patel, D'Alessandro, all in the pits.
And Brzezinski doesn't pit.
Brzezinski's gone now. Brzezinski is going to want to try to get gain some advantage and just manage to get an overlap. Try to get an overlap on Patel. What we mean when we say overlap, we'll start with overcut. An undercut is where you pit before the other guy and your outlap on your fresh tyres is quicker than his in-lap on his worn tyres. That's an undercut. An overcut is where you stay out and manage to go quicker because that guy's no longer in front of you. And then after you pit, you end up in front of him. An overcut is a lot harder. Now, I want to look at Brzezinski's tyres. Yeah, Kuba's 14 laps in, so I think we will see Kuba pit this time round, unless he's managed to save some rubber, which quite frankly I can't imagine happening because he was fighting with Patel that whole time.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see if he does pit this lap. I reckon he could try keeping it going till lap 14 and trying to shorten his stints.
Well, Mo just went purple in sector 1 on new rubber, so staying out there is not going to help. So yeah, Kuba knows that. His engineer Pashalis would have advised him of that.
Oh, Partington's just got past Bugatti for second place into the chicane. Good move by Mike Partington there, thanks DRS.
Wow, I'm going to go back and look at that because that would be amazing.
Absolute stunning move, Senna-esque I would say. You know, he put his car there and Bugatti had to stop and just let him go.
And just rewinding now.
Yeah, another battle that seems to be going on is that James Sadler is 2 seconds behind Christian now. And Cuba's ahead of Patel.
How did that happen? Well, that's going to be a massive relief to Kuba.
Yeah, exactly. Hopefully, Kuba can save his tyres like he could with in Barcelona. So hopefully, if Kuba can do that, maybe he can do a last stint on the super soft tyre, maybe.
And I just managed to rewind and catch the Partington move on Bugatti, and it was a fantastic move. Threw it up the inside with the benefit of DRS.
Yeah, exactly.
And had overlap, had the apex. Bugatti, in hindsight, could have done a bit more. He could have stayed to the inside to make it harder, but fantastic move. So it's all come alive. This top 4 or 5, the deck has completely been shuffled now, and Brzezinski has now got to make up a 4-second deficit to pull himself up with Daniel Kiss. But at least Brzezinski has managed to make that overcut work on Patel and should now be able to push like crazy. All drivers still on the prime tyre.
Yeah, so Quaker was extending his lead to 2.8 seconds to Partington. Hopefully Urone doesn't ruin his tyres. You're going to hear us talking a lot about tyres because they're pretty much the main factor at the minute, especially around here.
Well, didn't that fight just absolutely come alive on either side of that pit stop window? We got to a couple of laps out from pit stops, and we had cars stopping. We had Quaker make 2 massive moves into turn 1, turn 2, which paid off. And Bugatti dropped back from the lead to P3. So incredible little segment of racing there. and glad all of you, all the viewers, were here to enjoy it with us.
Yeah, so the gap's 3 seconds. It looks like Daniel Kiss could get past Bugatti. Or could it be a role reversal from Spain? Yeah, Quakel's definitely loving the clear air. He's got no one around him really. He's got Martin Hodas about a minute behind.
Well, even if he manages to hold on to P3, Bugatti will be leaving Canada in the lead in the World Drivers' Championship, because he was only 2 points adrift of Jim Parizis, and a good 7 points clear of Quakel and Simoncic. Actually, no, he'll be just about tied. He'll be tied with Quakel if they maintain the current positions.
Oh yeah, because World Championship use Formula 1, don't they?
Yeah, top 10. 25, 18, 15, 12. So fourth place would earn
he'll be 2 points behind Quakel.
18 points, so 25, 18, 12, oh no, 15. No, 10 points, no, Quakel would be 2 points ahead of him. Anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself. We're only 42 laps into this 70-lap race.
Might as well protect the championship for, the last round in Brazil while we're at it. We've had another question come in whilst we wait for more action to happen. Why can't FSR drivers pick their own numbers?
Well, it was discussed, and it's something that obviously gets done in Formula 1. But the way it works in FSR is that the two cars carry the number of where that team was in the championship the previous year. So the world champion team, those cars would carry 1, 2. So it's like the old Formula 1 system. So we haven't moved over to that new system. It was discussed, but it was felt at the time that it was just probably a bit of an administrative headache for not a whole lot of return. But who knows, might be something for the future.
Yeah, exactly. It'd be nice for the drivers to have their own number, but I think they just want to race.
Yeah, it's a funny old thing with the numbers. It's nice to have a low number.
Sadler's out of the race.
Who is? Oh, Sadler. Oh, we missed that. Okay, I'm going to go back and try and replay that. See what happened.
Yeah, you do have some rewinding to do. Yeah, it looks like he lost it onto the he hit the wall of champions. Spun and hit the wall of champions. So he had the whole lap without a front wing. It looks like he just decided not to continue on halfway through the lap.
And it was after an attack from De Jong. So I'm just going to have a little bit of an onboard from De Jong's perspective, and just see what we can find.
Oh, and the battle for third place. Kiss and Bugatti getting a bit cheeky with each other. I think Kiss could have a good line with DRS down into turn 1. They're getting really close. I wouldn't be surprised if they do make contact. Yep, they made a little bit of a argy-bargy going on.
Yeah, Sadly was hit in the rear by De Jong's car.
Oh.
It's a very hard one to call whether there was any blame to be laid. There was some overlap at the turn-in point, but not much. So that'll be one for the race director and the stewards to look at later. But yeah, it was contact into the final chicane with the front wheels of Chris de Jong's car hitting the rear wheels of James Sadler's car. Sadler was on the outside line, so arguably had the better entry line. De Jong had some overlap in the inside line, so yep, we'll leave that for the stewards to work on.
Yeah,
that one.
So whilst all that's all happened, Patel's been overtaken by D'Alessandro, so that's quite good for NetRex. You could say with Alvaro Torres being out of the race since lap 7.
Well, indeed.
So could he launch an attack?
McCallie hasn't got a result to his name that's worthy yet of his talent, in my view. He's a guy that's shown some really good pace and some great racecraft, but just hasn't put it all together on the day yet to get the result.
Apparently, from what I've seen in the chat, apparently Bugazzi's got damage.
Oh, okay.
That's yet to be confirmed. But Mike Partington is keeping on to the back of Quakel. The gap seems to have stabilised now in 3 seconds.
Yes, I guess the thing is, if you've got somebody as quick as Mike, you're not going to pull a massive gap. So if you're Jerome, you probably get it to 3 seconds and then start just managing that gap and looking after your tyres and looking after your car as best you can.
You could say a dark horse of this race has been Mitchie Hoyer. He's in 8th place at the minute, only 16 seconds off the lead.
Well, that's
starting at the pit lane.
That's a pretty good drive from pit lane, isn't it?
Exactly.
Now, Kiss is, by the way, Kiss is pretty close to Bugazzi. Might be worth coming on board. I think, yeah, Kiss is going to get Bugazzi now with the added advantage of DRS.
Yeah, he lets his teammate go. That's good thinking there.
Yeah, particularly if he's a wounded soldier.
Bugazzi's coming back at him. The DRS is obviously helping him there.
So Kiss up into P3. How did that happen, and when did that happen? He's been a bit of a sleeper this race. He hasn't been in amongst the really big battles, and he's worked his way up into P3. It's a little bit like Kuba Brzezinski did last time out at Catalunya.
Yeah, apparently Bugazzi got damaged from Quakel's attack.
Oh, okay. They did bang wheels a little bit there, and I think, having watched it, I don't think I'd lay really particularly any more blame on Quakel than I would on Bugazzi. I think Quakel was there right on the edge of the track. He couldn't have left more room. And the attacking driver and the defending driver, they haven't got to leave the preferred line for the other driver. They've just got to leave a spot for them to drive on. So you've really got to use the bit of track that's available to you. And if somebody's beside you and on the apex, you've got to avoid them. You can't make them go onto the grass. So, I think it's one of those things, racing incident. It was a great attack, an aggressive attack, but a clean and a legal one.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's just probably a bit of bad luck, really, that contact of the car caused that. But as you say, it's yet to be fully confirmed. We'll know later on if he's actually got severe damage or not. His wheel does look straight, though.
Yeah, it does indeed, but it looks like he's having to make minor corrections mid-corner. I was watching him through turn 5, and he seemed to have to be constantly correcting it. Yeah, it does look a bit snake-like. It might be a little bit of rear-end suspension damage or something.
Yeah, I've got to say that Mike Partington's doing a really good job for 2nd place.
Yeah, he's certainly... he's given himself a gap now to Kiss. Bugazzi and Kiss obviously very close. Brzezinski within 1 second of Kiss now. So we've got a small gap there, just around about 1 second. But Kuba's got to hope that if he goes into attack mode on Kiss, he's got to hope that Kiss hasn't got as good a defence as Patel had.
Yeah, we've had another question coming whilst the gaps are, staying the same. Is the level of drivers as high as it was 2 to 3 years ago?
Well, in my opinion, absolutely. And it's been proven because the all-time legend of FSR, Bono House, Morgan Morand absolutely took it to him in 2014 and beat him on track several times and came into the final race in the lead of the championship. As you said earlier, Bono never led the championship until the end of the final race. So Morgan Morand was really the form driver of that season. They both had issues and it was a close fight, but you've got to say Morand had the edge on Bono House. Now Bono was the legend, won 5 years in a row. Morand came and raced in this series last year, and the best he did was P4. He was battling with Kuba and ended up 5th, I think, in Sepang, and battling with Kuba again and ended up 5th or 6th in Singapore. So and he didn't get pole in either race. So I think if you find, if somebody of Morgan Moran's calibre, who was a superstar over the previous 3-4 years, comes and competes and comes 4th, what more proof do you need,
Yeah, exactly.
So
and yeah, people were saying they feared that the level could have dropped after Morgan and Bono pulled out. But
absolutely not.
No, exactly. What we've lost, we've gained with people like Quakel, Partington, D'Alessandro, Antohovsky, all that.
Yeah, exactly. And
exactly.
look, you get these household names, such as Bono and Morgan, and they are brilliant drivers and very talented drivers. But there's no license on speed. People arrive and go quicker. And people get surprised and they don't know the person's name, and it takes them a couple of years to get used to them, and then suddenly they're the new legend. But the legends of yesteryear were here for the crossover, and they were seen off. Didn't manage the podium. So I don't think we can offer you any more conclusive proof than that.
People were saying, was it boring watching Bono win 5 years on the trot? No.
Well, I think so. I think this is more exciting. I really do. I mean, we've had 3 different race winners from 3 different teams. Okay, if Quakel wins today, it's his 2nd win. Partington's moved up from ace and looks like he's going to come 2nd. Each week the race comes around and we just don't know who's going to win. It could have been any one of 6 or 7 guys here today, and we still don't know. I mean, Quakel's looking very strong at the moment, but he's going to be looking at his fuel levels. He's going to be looking at temperatures, depending on how fine he cut his cooling levels, and he's got to make it to the end. And things can still happen, and the track here claims as many victims as overtakes do. So here we're watching a race where we don't know who's going to win. I look back to Bahrain, and the final order and the winner had not been sorted even when the final pit stops had been made. After the final pit stops, you still had Jim Parizis in the lead, and it was only as his primes gave up the ghost a bit that he was passed. So when you got racing where over a world championship distance of this level and this length.
Oh, sorry to butt in, but Cuba's got to run on Bugatti. He lets Bugatti go.
Yeah,
very good
does the gentlemanly thing.
And but a bit of oversteer from Bugatti on the exit of the corner.
Cuba might have another go. Is he going to try a Quakel down the? No, he goes to the inside. He's certainly putting Bugatti under a lot of pressure. Bugatti must be in that cockpit, as well as driving flat out. He must be asking himself, what's he got to do to win a race? He's been on pole. He's been on the front row.
Yeah,
he's done some fantastic driving. He just hasn't quite caught that break that's going to let him, have a victory in Formula Sim Racing World Championship level.
I'm sure we'll get one this year. It's just a question of luck, really. You need the pace. He's definitely got the pace, and you need the luck.
Yeah,
he just doesn't have
the pace, the luck, the strategy, the racecraft. In World Championship to win, you've got to have it all.
Yeah, I do think that them pitting early has really compromised him now.
Now Kuba's right on him again. I think he couldn't be, as we see Kuba and Bugatti exit turn 10 hairpin. Brzezinski's all over him. He's very close, even before he activates the DRS. Moves left very aggressively, wants to get out of the way and get by, and moves back across to consolidate the pass. And there we have a pass for P4 at lap 52 in a 70-lap race. We're still fighting over 4th place. Fantastic racing.
Exactly. Fair and clean racing is what we like to see. It wasn't like that in the other categories, but WC definitely does show the best of it.
It was a tough old race. Well, as we've seen, even in World Championship, we've got what have we got? 9 retirements, 10 retirements. So it's a high attrition rate here in Canada. They don't call it the Wall of Champions for nothing. Bit of trivia for you. Got that name in 1999 after Damon Hill, Schumacher, Villeneuve and Zonta all ended their race against. It used to be called the Quebec Wall because there's a little sign there saying "Welcome to Quebec." But in '99, after 4 drivers hit it, they renamed it the World of Champions. For the trivia minded, there you are. You can win a bet at your local pub with that bit of news.
Pub quiz, there we go.
There you go, pub quiz victory
You
champions.
never know when that might show up.
So Kuba's managing to clear a bit of a gap between him and Bugatti.
This is interesting.
Well, Kiss is only 3 seconds ahead, isn't he? Bugatti pitting again. This would be Bugatti's final stop, surely, with 17 laps to go. Although, yeah, he's obviously used options in his first stint, so he'll go primes and try to go long. And Bugatti will occasionally throw the dice on strategy. I remember last year in Canada, he used a very different tyre strategy to everybody around him, and it nearly paid off. So Bugatti's going to try to get out there, get some pace, and hope the other guys pit one more time.
Yeah, exactly. And Michi Hoyer's on the back of Mohammed Patel, who's on the back of Mikel D'Alessandro. And Michi's really been like keeping, the race to his own. I said earlier that he's doing a cracking job, and he really actually is, considering he started from the pit lane.
Well, exactly. He's 15 seconds off the leader, and he would have been at least 15 seconds off the leader when he entered the track. So really, he's keeping pace with the top guys.
And he won Ace, so he's got the experience of 70 laps around here.
It was an absolutely majestic drive. Hoyer destroyed the whole grid in Ace.
Quaker and Partington are in the pits, and so is Kiss.
And Brzezinski.
Or hopefully they've got big enough.
More.
They should have big enough gap.
Everyone's in.
So this is their last stop. Shouldn't be too hard on the tyres. They still have to conserve it a little bit.
Yeah, 16 laps. Yeah, everyone's gone primes for the final stint.
Sensible choice. I mean, we won't get 15 laps up the super soft tyre and still be consistent.
Well, the amount of rubber, and of course, we chat about this every now and then, but the rubber build-up, it just means you've got so much more grip, which means the tyres are sliding less. I can hear some crashing somewhere. The tyres are sliding less. You've got
Chris
less.
de Jong's out the race by the looks of it.
Yeah, there he is indeed.
So it looks like if one more person crashes out, there could be everyone that finishes gets points.
Well, I think they should. 70 laps at Canada if you survive. Blair Disney into the pits now for his final stop.
Yeah, Daniel Kiss seems a little bit closer to Mike Partington now.
Well, 16 laps to play, 2-second gap.
Race.
But Partington is quick. Partington is not a shabby driver. He's just moved up from Ace, but he's certainly got the goods to be fighting at the front end of World Championship. So
exactly,
Kiss will need to push hard. But the thing about Canada, it's got to be a measured attack. It's so easy to do what I was calling an own goal before and just spin into the wall, because these cars are hard to manage.
Yeah, exactly.
I just noticed.
Hey, Chris.
Hi, Chris.
Sorry to see you race in there, fella.
Yeah, nice indeed. First of all, really big sorry for James Sadler. I'm a really big cunt hitting you.
Please don't use that language, mate.
No, but I am. I mean, it's really appalling. But hopefully it's a nice race from the commentary booth. I see Michele, Patel and Hoyer are fighting it out.
Yeah,
we've had some amazing action, and we had around about the second pit stop window, around the third pit stop window, the whole running order just got shuffled completely.
Yeah,
with
Michi
two
Hoyer's
amazing
doing
overtakes.
an amazing job.
Made an amazing overtake on Partington and on Bugatti. We think Bugatti might be running a little bit wounded. We think he might have slight damage from that overtake because he's been dropping back ever so slightly.
All right.
But,
Well, I'm staggered to see Michi Hoyer in P8 actually. He started in the pit and now he's well in the points and only 16 seconds away from the lead.
well, he hasn't lost any time. He was 16 seconds down when they finished lap 1. So he's lapping at the same pace as the leaders. But no surprise there after his win in Ace.
Well, still an amazing job in my perspective.
Oh no, 100%. So closest battles at the moment really is Kiss 2.5 seconds off Partington, Kuba 2.5 seconds off Kiss, Bugatti 2 seconds to the rear of Brzezinski. Mo's pretty close to De Lisandro now. Mohamed Patel and De Lisandro, that's probably our closest on-track battle just at the moment.
Yeah, 1 second, 3 cars. I mean, what do you want more?
Yeah, it's amazing.
Exactly.
Still got fights occurring, 56 laps into this race.
Be interesting to see if Mike Partington can hold on to second place though.
That would be an amazing job for Mike.
Exactly.
And well appreciated for him as well.
Yeah,
eventful race though. I saw cars being piled up upside down to on the main straight.
Are you on about George Manusakis?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, he kind of rolled it on the curb.
Yeah, I was coming on there. I was like, what the hell is happening? You know, 3 cars on top of each other.
Yeah, it's not the best thing when cars are on top of each other. They should
No,
really
gave
be on the track.
Yeah, well, at least it's eventful. And look at the Alessandro Patel and Hoyer fighting it out. Patel, really cheeky guy here. I'm sure he has something in store for the end. I mean, it's not that all his shots are fired. That's never his way. He has always an option ready. And well, interesting to see him fight for P6 rather than the lead of this race. But yeah, that's the order as it is right now.
And Hoyer is the second fastest guy on the track at the moment with a 17.289. He's just done a PB. And De Lisandro's just gone purple in Sector 2, so there's some guys coming alive at the moment.
Yeah, well,
Quakel's looking a bit unstoppable though, with a 17.1. He is the fastest guy on track.
Indeed.
And with 6 seconds lead.
Hoyer now on Patel. Hoyer on Patel. He is already on the inside. Patel has to make way here, and Hoyer takes P7 away. What a tremendous job from the young German here.
Indeed. Classy move into the chicane.
I mean, I have to point out that after Catalunya, where Hoyer forgot to brake during the start and took some guys out, which made him which made him start from the pit lane this round. I wasn't, really pleased with that, and I'm sure he has something like that as well. But I was like, never see him do something stupid like that, and I'm sure he will agree with that. But then his comeback here in Canada is like superb. I mean, flawlessly winning Ace, and now being my guy of the day for today. Not speaking about the podium contenders here, but since Hoyer started out of the pit, I mean, it's an insane performance we're seeing here from the young ACR driver.
Yeah, exactly. It'd be interesting to see if he can catch up to, Bugatti if he gets past Alessandro.
Yeah, you're already thinking past the Alessandro. Well, that's what I mean. He's on fire.
Yeah, nobody puts in more work than Michi. He takes a very technical approach to his preparation, all the data.
Yeah, of course, he's German. He has to. I mean, it's in the genetics to use all the data and see what is the best solution here. And it pays off. I mean,
Well, De Alessandro is looking a bit quicker than Bugatti at the moment. That's one thing in terms of current lap time.
Yeah, Quaker is definitely pulling a hell of a long way ahead of Partington now. But Daniel Kiss is closing in, only 1.3 behind Partington as well.
No, we're going to see an attack then, because
exactly.
Kiss is a great driver. He's got a lapped car between the two of them. Hodas moves very professionally across to the right.
Does give him DRS though.
He's going to get DRS from Hodas there, isn't he?
Hoyer not yet in DRS range.
Yeah. Kiss got DRS courtesy of Hodas.
Yeah, exactly.
And his car
Well,
topped out at
Bugatti is very slow.
333 kilometres per hour. Big commitment through the chicane there from Kiss. He's really not leaving anything on the table. That's 1.5 seconds as they enter lap 61.
Do have to point out, not a professionalist comment here, but the engine of Jeroen Kwekel, you know, the Mercedes engine, when it's on low revs, it's just like making fart noises in my...
It sounds really crappy on low revs.
Yeah, I'm not the only one. Yeah, crappy is the right word as well. Crappy,
but you know,
farty.
I switched
I like
to that
the
engine.
Honda.
I did switch to that engine, and you know why? Because I hear the tyres better.
Fair
Bizarre
enough.
reason.
You can also put the volume up of the tire, so...
Yeah, I've got that at maximum already.
This guy.
The Ferrari, I love the Ferrari noise, but I can't hear the tyres with the Ferrari engine.
It's also a little bit silent, isn't it? But it, you know.
But the
And
Renault
then you've got
one's
the
just,
Renault.
the Renault one's just horrible.
Yeah, nobody talks
Okay.
about the Renault engine.
So all the so for anybody who doesn't know in the audience, the drivers have got a choice of 4 different engine sounds. The power output's exactly the same, but they can choose between the 4 F1 engine manufacturers. Looks like Mike is responding to the pressure from Kiss.
Only a matter of sound, indeed. But I mean, it's impossible to drive fast without sound. I mean, if you don't have sound, you can't drive. You have to hear the engine.
Well, particularly in our simulated world, because we don't have G-force. So, you know, it's the visual and the audio cues as well as the force feedback.
Yeah, but if someone would have their audio drop, they would instantly drop like seconds there. Like, oh, I don't know, the revs, the feeding. Or,
yeah,
you
definitely.
know. So,
Yeah, and going on about the Renault engine sound, it sounds like a 2-year-old doing raspberries.
well, the Renault engine sounds like a Renault engine. So, enough said.
So I think Mike is responding because Mike's just done a PB in Sector 1. So I think he's definitely responding to the Kiss attack.
Yeah, Mitchie looks like he's definitely gonna come alive now.
Well, yep, I think I agree with you, Chris de Jong. P7 from a pit lane start and to be 16 seconds back is the drive of the day, really.
Yeah, I mean, in my opinion, it is. Would still be really happy if Jeroen would win this, since Bugatti stole pole position away. Because everyone was moaning about 5-minute qualifying and whatever. Fortunately for these guys, they have never witnessed any issues in Pro or Ace. You know, those categories are always the tryouts.
Yeah, if only World Championship could run as smoothly as Pro does.
Yeah, and as soon, you know, in the first time in 2 or 3 years something goes wrong in WC, we had 5 minutes Q1 of Q2 instead of 10, and everyone's like, you know, what is this? It's not perfect. You know, we won't accept this. Do it again. You know, and you know they're that spoiled, but we like to spoil these drivers because who wouldn't like to see these lot driving and battling it out.
Well, there's a lot at
Exactly.
stake, isn't there? I mean, it's the elite series. It's the world's top drivers in sim racing, and I guess
Yeah, and then you need a red carpet, you know.
they want to have their best opportunity. I thought Mo Patel was the most frank of them all. He said, "Well, I'm not going to do any better than 5th anyway, so I don't care what you do."
No.
Mitchie and
What's up?
D'Alessandro's come together.
Who?
Mitchie and D'Alessandro.
Oh,
Mitchie
gee, what happened there?
Tried a little bit of a dive bomb, Mitchie did, and kind of broke a bit late and collided.
Ouch.
Hasn't really affected D'Alessandro that much though, but Mitchie's quite a far time.
Michi must feel as stupid as I did with James Settler. Still, if you're watching James, so sorry, you deserve so much more.
Yeah, I think the concentration's starting to go a little bit with Mitchie, but I think he's probably got it back now. That's a big wake-up call for him.
Well, already too late there, but for me as well, I thought I can make that gap, you know, and then
Well, you know, I think
split-second decisions.
bottom line is, Chris, that 2 cars can't fit through that final chicane at racing speed, so somebody's got to give way.
Yeah, I guess.
I mean,
Anyway.
Kuba and Bugatti managed to do it, but they both slowed right down.
Yeah, but here I think Michi, on that in that respect, tried to overtake a back marker or something, and then misjudged his braking or something. There was a car in between them.
So Kiss is closed on Partington just that little bit now. We're talking, I think we've got DRS, we're talking about 0.7 of a second, unless I'm terribly mistaken.
And don't forget that Cheeky Patel is still behind Michi, ready to take the spot away. Don't underestimate him.
No, he didn't have DRS. Forgive me.
Patel did. He's still in DRS race. Michi didn't.
No, the gap's gone out again.
Oh.
Brzezinski's coming in on it as well.
6-7 laps to go.
Exactly.
Can Brzezinski blow this open?
Maybe Cuba might get his overtake that he's been wanting since Spain.
Yeah, still pushing like crazy. Lap time's very similar though. Last time around, Partington 17.6, Kiss 17.5, Cuba 17.4. So there's like a tenth in it. But he visually seems to be just getting closer and closer.
I mean, this race has been pretty good so far, really.
Well, there's been a lot of overtaking action, and the way that the top six were circulating, and we were saying, well, it's a bit like a truly train. And at that third pit window, it just got blown apart. The whole thing just got totally thrown in the air. And you've got to give Quaker credit for two incredible overtakes. He went down the outside of turn one, put his car beside the other driver, and kept it there through turn two, and got the drive out of two and owned the apex to turn three. So that was good overtaking.
Yeah, people in the chat are going crazy about saying how it's more entertaining than real Formula One.
Awesome.
You could kind of say that it is.
Yeah, glad you're liking it, everyone. We love it. And unlike real Formula One, your daddy having $20 million to contribute to a team won't get you a drive. And unlike real Formula One, all the cars are identical. So, in fact, it's better.
Having said that's almost out of the line. Pay drivers are from yesterday, starting from next year.
Whoa, I wouldn't bet on that.
Yeah, I can bet your ass.
I think Harry Anto's paid $12 million for his seat.
No. You have to have a certain amount of FIA points, so to speak, and winning GP3 championship will give you like 30 points, and you need 40 points in order to even get a super license to drive F1
car. That'll only work if they can make the sport cheaper for the teams, because the teams aren't getting these drivers to come and give them 10, 15, 20 million dollars just because they want to go slow. They're doing it because they badly need the money.
No, but the teams should shut up in the first place. I mean, I remember on its heyday, Toyota F1 used to spend $2 million a day, like 700-800 million a year, and they still didn't produce a winning car. So money doesn't matter. It's all about resources. And Haas F1 from America is showing that everyone is being jealous now. We worked so hard.
Chris, I don't agree, mate. Money is everything in F1. Mercedes-Benz is spending close to $1 billion on their program.
No, not $1 billion. 1,000 million? You really think so?
Their budget is nearly 800 million when you add it all up together.
Yeah, well, same as Toyota then, but Toyota didn't produce a winning car. So.
and then if a team comes along that's got a minnow budget like a HRT with 40 million or 30 million.
Those were stupid teams.
Money is
they
everything.
Shouldn't have entered in the first place.
Money buys speed in Formula One.
In other news,
in a sense,
Michele D'Alessandro is right on the back of Francesco Ragazzi.
He's doing good.
He is.
Maybe with this DRS, he might be able to take a look.
Well, and Michi's on the back as well.
Michele's quick. He's a quick guy.
So they have saved the best for last for us. That's nice.
So we've got a three-man battle.
With 3 laps to go.
67 laps in. These guys have not decided P5. This is close racing.
Everyone's going a bit crazy about pay drivers now.
Well, the most insulting pay driver of all was Carmen Jorda. There's a girl who, after 3 seasons in in GP3, I think it was, or F3, or GP3, she had a personal best result of 13th.
Oh, fantastic.
Oh, Michele De Alessandro losing
bit
momentum
of a-
there,
bit of
coming
a
out of the
slide, yeah.
corner.
Do a Melbourne.
And, you know,
Mitchie's gonna love this.
It's giving Hoyer the edge.
yeah, well, the edge, but, you know, Michele De Alessandro kept it together. Both have DRS now, Hoyer and De Alessandro, but Bigazzi here, I think if he could sign for P5 at the moment, he would do it, you know, because
Yeah,
it's
he would.
getting tense.
He'd take that deal, wouldn't he?
But it's getting more tense between Hoyer and De Alessandro. I don't
Well-
think... Alessandro even cutting the grass there a little bit.
Hoyer was pushing like crazy on the exit of the hairpin
They
there.
both-
Got some wheel spin.
They both have DRS, but Hoyer
Should
is...
he
just-
go there? Should he go, Chris, or not? No, he backs out.
Yeah, no, he was only pressuring there, but both have had DRS, obviously. And with 2 laps to go, it's Alessandro, who is still in P6, overshoots the corner a little
Oh,
bit.
Hoyer went in there very hot as well into turn 1. They've both recovered. They're not leaving anything on the table, these guys. They
What's
know
happened
this.
to Mohammed Patel? He's 6 seconds back now.
He gave
They-
up, apparently.
Oh,
Well,
okay.
Nevertheless, unfortunate for
Holski's on
him,
the
but
back of him.
he has had his good times in FSR. One bad time isn't that much of a big deal for him. I think he differs with that. But Bigazzi still 8 tenths in front of the Alessandro now. Alessandro having a better exit here, so he will get DRS. Obviously, Michi Hoyer as well. Seems like Brzezinski will not close the gap between Daniel Kiss, who on his turn will not close the gap between Parrington.
Oh, Mikel spins. Sorry, Michelle
Oh,
spins.
the Alessandro, it happens again!
Oh, what is this?
He has spun!
Mitchie's
And-
loving this now.
He
got a
indeed is
clean
loving
run.
this. But we have seen it in Australia, we have seen it in Bahrain or Barcelona it was.
He did it in Bahrain as well.
In Bahrain as well, and now
Yeah.
the 4th time in 3 races.
Wow.
He messes up and loses positions. Fortunately for him, it's not a DNF, but I'm sure it will feel like it at the moment.
Yeah, he needs to be a bit steadier on the right
Yeah.
foot, I think.
On
Well,
the
he's
nerves.
a very talented driver,
Well-
and just goes to show that like a 1/10 of a second error, lapse in concentration, can just cost you multiple places here at this level.
Exactly.
Yeah, and that's how high the level is indeed. Well said, David.
Well, absolutely, and that's the thing. Anybody who hasn't driven these cars, I said before, come along and have a go. The mod's free to
Indeed.
download. The tracks are free to download. Come and see what it's like. It is awesome.
And if you're
Yeah.
like someone in the chat saying they would be leading this race, then come on and prove it.
Yeah.
Indeed. But Jeroen
Talk's cheap,
Kwekel, we
guys.
are
Go on,
about
then.
to make our way up for the finish of this race. Jeroen Kwekel winning his 2nd race of this championship. And I'm sure the Dutchman is proud of that achievement. Look at him,
looks happy.
Jeroen Kwekel winning round 4 of Formula SimRacing World
Fantastic.
Championship.
Mike Partington crossing the line for
He's happy
2nd
with
place,
that. Look
8
at that.
seconds back. He knows that was a good drive. Kiss, P3. Kuba Brzezinski, P4.
Oh,
He's
Bigazzi spun? Bigazzi spun!
Hoyer's
Holy
through to
moly,
5.
Hoyer in P5! Hoyer and the
Go on,
Alessandro!
Hoyer.
They're
Close
racing,
to the
they're
finish
racing
line.
to P5.
Hoyer actually taking P5. What the hell is
Incredible.
going on?
Wow.
This is extraordinary stuff. Great
What an
stuff.
extraordinary finish.
So Bigazzi going to the finish now in P9.
What is this?
So I'm gonna
Wow.
check what happened with Bigazzi. It seems like he was alongside with Hoyer. And then he made contact with Hoyer. And that made it tumble. Oh, Hoyer lost the car. It's actually Hoyer his fault, I am afraid. Whew. So this might mean if Hoyer would get a time penalty, then Alessandro and Patel would, gain another place. But a little bit of a
Oh,
racing
yeah, tricky
incident
one
as
to
well,
call.
since he just lost the car.
I'm
But,
just going to have a look. It's, yeah.
Hoyer just lost the car
Yeah.
under braking, and that was unfortunate. But
It did look like there wasn't enough room on the for both of them though as well. And let's see if Quakel does donuts.
wow, well, eventful to say the least.
Well, yeah, that's a word for it.
Thank you to Quakel for not making this boring. Oh, did I just say that?
That was Ting. That's €1. No, fantastic race, really. A bit of a
Oh,
shame at the
fantastic.
end there.
Yeah, so Quaker was not made this race boring. He's made it exciting because, well, everyone's made this exciting. All 11 finishers. I
Yeah.
think.
Well, I
So,
think.
who would you say your driver of the day is?
Well,
It's got to be Quaker, I think.
that was a classy drive. He had to fight through from what, 5th place, 6th place. Did it with some good overtakes, some good strategy. Yeah, my driver of the day goes to Quaker, I think. Hard to look beyond
same.
that.
Yeah.
By the way, I see Jim Paris is being disqualified. What happened there?
Well, I
Someone
think
do a
I
penalty.
think it was a drive-through because we saw him do a drive-through and he exited the pits and pressed escape. I think the game failed to register that he'd done the drive-through. You know, sometimes it gets a bug. So and there we have it. Amazing race. Thank you very, very much, everybody, for coming to enjoy it with us, round 4. And we'll be back in 2 weeks on the 8th of May at Silverstone, Great Britain, for round 5 of the Formula Sim Racing World Championships.
Yeah.
Any closing comments from you guys?
Good race. That's all I can say.
Yeah, definitely. Hope to see you then.
Yeah, thanks for joining us in the booth, both Chris's. Chris Rabey, fantastic to have you help for the whole race, and Chris de Jong, thanks for joining us after your partial race. And
thank you for having us.
Yeah, awesome drive. We didn't know what was going to happen. Well done. Thank you all.